73.
Can you give me a hug? I love you.
Thank you.
She says, I can't walk. She performed at the AMAs that night too, from the video I just sent you, and that lady, she had to have been drunk or at least taken something, which I don't blame her because I think it was actually her first time performing in a long time, given she was also performing Lose You to Love Me, and maybe that was just bringing up some feelings. I would need to fucking calm down. I would have a panic attack, but it was clear that like something was up. Always getting carried out a lot of places. So again, she's a woman, she's an adult, she's allowed to drink, but the reason that people are kind of like, what are you doing, is because people are like, you're not supposed to be drinking if you're struggling with lupus. She had been struggling with it for a few years at this point, and people were also really judgmental of the fact that she got the kidney from Francia, her friend, and then supposedly they had like a falling out or they weren't friends for a while. But then they posted a TikTok together again, I think this year. But the general consensus is that people don't necessarily trust Selena being the victim or the biggest victim within the entire story, and that her PR team just does a really good job at positioning her as somebody who is constantly getting hurt by other people and just struggling with health issues, when in reality, supposedly, allegedly, she's broken up like quite a few of her own friends' relationships. People refer to Miley Cyrus, but they were literally like, I don't even know, 16, 17. But then also Jennifer Aniston, who was kind of like her older friend, mother, mentor, because she didn't have a lot of friends in the industry, which she has stated herself that Taylor Swift is only one of them. And I guess didn't mention Francia, and people were like, hello, why would you not mention the woman who saved your life? And she said, sorry, I didn't mention every person I know, from her documentary. Part 73.
Can you give me a hug? I love you.
Thank you.
She says, I can't walk. She performed at the AMAs that night too, from the video I just sent you, and that lady, she had to have been drunk or at least taken something, which I don't blame her because I think it was actually her first time performing in a long time, given she was also performing Lose You to Love Me, and maybe that was just bringing up some feelings. I would need to fucking calm down. I would have a panic attack, but it was clear that like something was up. Always getting carried out a lot of places. So again, she's a woman, she's an adult, she's allowed to drink, but the reason that people are kind of like, what are you doing, is because people are like, you're not supposed to be drinking if you're struggling with lupus. She had been struggling with it for a few years at this point, and people were also really judgmental of the fact that she got the kidney from Francia, her friend, and then supposedly they had like a falling out or they weren't friends for a while. But then they posted a TikTok together again, I think this year. But the general consensus is that people don't necessarily trust Selena being the victim or the biggest victim within the entire story, and that her PR team just does a really good job at positioning her as somebody who is constantly getting hurt by other people and just struggling with health issues, when in reality, supposedly, allegedly, she's broken up like quite a few of her own friends' relationships. People refer to Miley Cyrus, but they were literally like, I don't even know, 16, 17. But then also Jennifer Aniston, who was kind of like her older friend, mother, mentor, because she didn't have a lot of friends in the industry, which she has stated herself that Taylor Swift is only one of them. And I guess didn't mention Francia, and people were like, hello, why would you not mention the woman who saved your life? And she said, sorry, I didn't mention every person I know, from her documentary. Part 74, I think. So Selena goes to rehab a few times, most of them being for like mental health or lupus. And her team is like, it was not for substance abuse problems. I think it's important to note that the facilities or the treatment centers that she went to did specialize in substance abuse. And when people were like, okay, if it wasn't substance abuse and it was for lupus, then why would you still be publicly seen like drinking and smoking all the time if it was for your lupus? And then Selena misspoke in an interview and said something along the lines of like, I was struggling with leukemia. Doesn't sound right? Because she wasn't. She meant to say chemotherapy. She mixed up leukemia and chemotherapy. So people were like, how do you mix up those two words if this is something that you're struggling with? And again, this is not coming out of my mouth. I'm just like trying to tell you guys every single thing that I've read. And a lot of it is just scrubbed from the internet. But supposedly Justin's team and sources close to Selena said that she had an Ambien problem as well. And then I guess on Instagram one day she said, I wanted to tell you, this is to J-Lo, how much you inspired me tonight. I haven't felt that free in my entire life. I just wanted to tell you how amazing God thinks you are. He was speaking to me through your show tonight, like made me feel like such a woman. She tags J-Lo. J-Lo doesn't answer, and then she takes an Instagram hiatus or social media break like literally the next day. And to me, this was just something else to include. Supposedly Selena was trying to be Bella's friend, and this is kind of going with the narrative that like she messes with the men of her friends supposedly, and I guess Bella tried to reach out to The Weeknd and say like, Selena's trying to use you. So this blog is basically just saying she is really good at hiding the fact that she has substance abuse issues and actually is, I guess, emotionally abusive to Justin, and isn't this like goody two-shoes that we see from her team. And that her team was offering millions to the church if they could keep Justin on track with the plan of being able to accommodate her career while staying low-key and eventually just disconnected from the industry completely. And Justin like jokingly tweeted about him officially retiring. And that this would essentially be a really good deal for the church because there was money plans set up. And also, I'm going to talk about this more when I talk about the church itself, but the church like they make money off of their clients, like off of their celebrity churchgoers. Each of the celebrities are actually expected to donate 10% of their earnings, their money, their net worth to the church. So not only are they banking off of their religious participation, but this supposed alleged, deal that's going on with Selena marrying Justin would really rack in the dough. And that the conversation that Justin had with Hailey that essentially was like to clear the air within couples therapy actually led to her being like, no, you're being scammed. Part 75. When I tell you I thought this was going to be 13 parts. So essentially Hillsong was trying to convince Justin that in order for God to redeem him and, forgive all of his sins, he needed to get married. He needed a wife. And to reunite and make amends with anybody that he had gone wrong with, Hailey being one of them. And this is what segued them into couples therapy, was him reaching out to Hailey. But that he was being religiously manipulated and that Selena was playing a big role in pushing that narrative. And that's why when Justin proposed to Hailey and not Selena, who would have helped them bank out a little bit more, that's why Carl was suddenly like, you know what? Sure, I'm happy for their engagement. The blog talks about how their source was basically just saying Selena kept trying again and again through the church. And that this was when all the articles were coming out that like Justin and Selena, are they getting married? They're going to couples therapy together. Are they on track to get a ring? and that Selena played a lot of mind games with him, so she just left him like she typically did. Like, I guess would just pull away, expecting him to snap back to her. And then he didn't, because he ultimately chose Hailey, who was like his supportive bestie through all of this, and helped him through his recovery. So Hailey was essentially like his best cheerleader and genuinely loved him and wanted the best for him, while Selena was kind of pulling him down into being his worst self. These are the messages from the source if you guys want to pause it and read it. It's pretty much everything I just said. It was saying how the Jelena like PR contract was over, but Selena was essentially trying to be with him seriously by using the church and manipulating Justin's parents as well into thinking that would be the best thing for them, the best thing for him. Despite what's true and what's not, because I'm going to get into the credibility of the source that I'm using to begin with, Justin's in a whirlwind. It's like, give this kid like even just a month to sit down and be a fucking normal person. Like, he has been on fire since like 12 years old, and all of this, seeing how it's going down and then just getting married, it's like, oh my god, I can't, it's so messy. So I told you guys I wanted to cover all ground, but the source that I'm using, I don't know if you can see it, but it says exposing SMG, exposing scandalous media groups. Now, the reason this is important is because this is a blog that doesn't only primarily focus on Justin and Selena, there's other things on it, but I guess there used to be an account called Exposing Selena Marie Gomez, and this is actually the same person or the same owner of the account that like rebranded themselves. And so knowing that, obviously the bias is leaning towards Hailey, supporting Hailey, and shitting on Selena. And we can see that with the things that they've given. That's why I've been trying to give Selena the benefit of the doubt within all of this, because a lot of it is reaching and can easily be like, okay, where's your source? But the reason this goes deeper is because people think Exposing Selena Marie Gomez is Hailey because of like a hater burner account and her connections to Deuxmoi. Part 76. So upon trying to find leaked things of Selena, exposing her like substance abuse problems, all the things that I could not find because they were broken links, I found this Reddit post kind of questioning Deuxmoi's bias and credibility towards Hailey Bieber and against Selena. It's referencing something where I guess there's a blind item about Selena Gomez being rude to staff and management. I guess it's a commonly known thing. I've seen a few guys comment about it, that Hailey Bieber is supposedly like so fucking rude to service workers, and a lot of people have consistently said with those jobs that they've had that experience with her. And it talks about how Deuxmoi mentioned that about Selena but never mentioned that about Hailey, despite it being like such a popular thing about her. And that Hailey actually apologized, which I found here. She said, "Hate hearing that was your experience with me, but glad you called me out so I can do better. Hopefully we meet again so I can apologize in person." And that by not touching on it, like she wouldn't get the negative, press for it. Like doing her a favor by not bringing it up, as opposed to what they did with Selena. And said that there was even Instagram DMs found of her citing Exposing Scandalous Media Groups, which is the blog that I've been reading from, but that is clearly very anti-Selena because it used to be Exposing Selena Marie Gomez. And that they always knew that they favored Hailey Bieber, but that the hatred ran a little bit too deep. And I remember the two women that ran Deuxmoi ended up publicizing themselves about it and coming out about it, and people did not expect it to be two 40-year-old women. Don't remember when that was, but these are kind of old. This is almost a year old. And they said, "I'm sticking to my theory that the person that runs Exposing Selena Marie Gomez is the same person that runs Deuxmoi. And that the person behind the blog clearly fucking hates Selena a little bit too much, and that Hailey supposedly accidentally followed her at some point." And despite us now knowing who is behind Deuxmoi, people that are close followers of the blog are no, I feel like this is a totally different person behind it, not the original women, and that it was bought out by a PR company. And that even if it wasn't bought out by a PR company, there's a lot of money in exchange to hold certain narratives. Guys, this is the thing. This is a story about money and PR, not about two people in love. Far from it. And we keep learning the same lesson that not everything is what it seems. Ironically, with Selena in the picture. But the reason there is a weird connection between her and Deuxmoi to begin with is because she posted this on her story saying, "I think I know who's running the account." And we know that, I feel like Deuxmoi got really popular mid-2020, right? Or was it 2021? I don't know, within the recent years, despite the fact that it's been around for 10 years. And Hailey should know that it's been around for 10 years because she has worked with them multiple times since 2014, which is when I started this deep dive. and she started getting close to Justin. So the theories are Hailey herself is exposing Selena Marie Gomez, or she's just a supporter of them, she's behind Deuxmoi, or she paid off Deuxmoi. Part 77, I'm like starting to have trouble figuring out where to navigate from here. The theories that we cannot prove is that Selena has, from very early on, had contracts with Justin that encouraged a PR relationship, which isn't that insane or sinister. It would have benefited both of their careers. But the theory goes on to say that Selena was intentionally trying to manipulate Justin's parents and the church into a secondary deal that would essentially create a contract, which, first of all, a marriage is a contract. Let's not forget that a marriage is a contract between Selena and Justin by ushering the church to aid him in making that decision. And then I don't think there's necessarily a theory about Hailey plotting on Justin other than the plot just being waiting around long enough and or convincing Justin that he is being religiously manipulated, even if there was no sinister deal from Selena's end and that they were actually trying to work on things and get married, and that she ended up essentially saying something between them going to couples therapy, Selena and Justin, and then them getting married, Hailey and Justin, that pivoted his mind to now focus on marrying her rather than Selena. I hope I haven't been saying Deuxmoi incorrectly this entire time, but I know some people are like obsessed with it, so I wanted to include this just in case there was other people who were like interested in that part of this. People think Shallon Lester is either behind it or playing a very big role in it, like has her hand in Deuxmoi. She's like a YouTube tea gossip channel commentary woman. Like most people, she's complex. I agree with some of the things she says. I don't agree with other things that she says. But she's very pro Hailey and very anti Selena, and makes this like incredibly clear in all of her videos that like she thinks Selena is like a fucking batshit heroin addict and that she's like a bipolar cocaine bitch. Which she can function in extremes, but again, it just kind of illuminates, like, why are some people so... Personally, like, you would think that Selena or Hailey has, like, came to your houses and beat you bitches up. And I notice it more with the Selena hate train than I do Hailey. People don't like Hailey because they're like, oh, she's a loser, like, she was the other woman. People hate Selena in a different way. Like, they are out for blood. And it makes you question, like... Are you getting paid or something? But we need to get back to the church now. We need to get back to Judah, to Carl, to Hillsong as a corporation. Not a church, a corporation. Selena was a fan of Judah very early on. So was Justin. So was Justin's mother. All you need to know from the beginning of the conception of this church is that it's fucking awful. They have no ethics. They're only focused on money. And everybody's going to hell, literally all of them. And we can start with the founder. Part 78, I saw someone comment on one of my other videos and they were like, Kayla's just taking her holiday break at this point. And somebody comments under and it's like, literally. I'm trying. Okay, the founder of Hillsong is Frank Houston. I do want to note that I'm still going off of the Exposing SMG blog. However, everything here is true. It's not biased. They just have the most concise blog to use the screenshots for. So Frank Houston is with multiple cases under his belt, like having essayed so many people. And his son, Brian Houston, kind of not took the responsibility because he didn't. He knew and he concealed all of the truth about it until the mother of somebody who was speaking up about the alleged abuse reported it to another church. It wasn't until then that he took accountability for his father's abuse. And it was just a lot of people coming out saying that they were getting sexually abused by him during their counseling sessions. So this wasn't something where it was just like, boom, essay. It was like under the guise that they were being helped by Frank and they were being led to walk with God and, you know, doing this for forgiveness. Religious manipulation. And preying on the vulnerability of people who are seeking help and faith and exploiting vulnerable people. All things you can find at church. So one of Frank's victims, Peter Lawton, I hope I'm saying that right, Lawton, was sent to the church to cure his homosexuality, to fix it. And he's 23 at the time, not a little boy, he's a full-grown adult. And he goes on to say, my counseling sessions by the senior minister were nothing more than sexual abuse disguised in the form of the need of a father's love and discipline. Tanya Levin is another woman that came out about Hillsong and was trying to expose them, saying that if people came to them with a problem and they weren't able to help, all of the fault would fall on the people and never the church. And that's why I was comparing Hillsong to Scientology before, not because I'm saying it's a Scientologist church, it's not. But Scientology also has this practice of like, everything's your fault, and if something bad happens to you, figure out why you let that happen to you and how you attracted it. And they also really exploit vulnerable celebrities to drive more money to their business. While all the poor, faithful, working class folk are the ones that are giving all of their income and getting the most hurt from the abuse of the church by upholding it because of their faith in God, not realizing that they're getting exploited. This is where it states that if you're a part of Hillsong, you're expected to give 1/10 of your income to the church as well as making donations. Not just famous people, every single person. The famous people are just the big, expensive whales that bring in a lot of millions. Part 79. So not only is Hillsong Church built off of animals and homophobes, it's extremely homophobic, also anti-abortion. Carl Lenz has made it very clear where he stands on this issue himself. In an interview, he was asked if he believes abortion is sinful, and he said no, but he's also very vague in every fucking interview when he's asked about his beliefs, because he desperately needs to be seen as cool and hip to reel in and influence new or modern people into his church without telling on himself and the fact that he believes all the things that people are very afraid of with, organized religion. So in the interview, he says, I don't think abortion is sinful. I just think people need to live with their convictions. And that it's an open-ended, it doesn't end with just that question. And then he's like, oh no, to be clear, sorry guys, it is sinful. And that we can pray for people that feel regret and wish they didn't do it, the sinful activity. And he always loves to beat around the bush with the fact that he's also just homophobic. He is. Beat around the bush on the Impulsive podcast, on all of his interviews. There's a good one from Vice, I believe, if anyone wants to watch it further. But he's like, we're welcoming gay people. We're welcoming the people that have to give us 10% of their income, but we're not gay affirming. Because your entire identity is about supporting this goddamn church that you're making so much money off of and then pretending you don't believe the things that you preach. Because it makes you look bad and people won't like you. Which leads us to the conclusion where he, again, literally is a victim of his own fucking church. Because even he can't follow the rules. But Bobby Houston, who I love even more than Carl, is Brian Houston's wife. She's such a bigot. Bobby Houston is also a pastor for Hillsong. She writes books. And she does the typical Christian woman twist in her writing, where it's not just about sharing the grace of faith and of God, but how you can do it in a sexy way so that your husband wants to fuck you. Because if you're walking in the eyes of God, if your husband wants to fuck you, you better bend over and get fucked. She primarily focuses her writing on how women need to, in order to be attractive for God, in the eyes of God, you need to be fuckable and not be fat as fuck. She's also said in her own words that when she feels fat, she feels retarded, and that to have a great marriage and sex life, to not be sloppy, you need to do your pelvic floor exercises. Your husband isn't gonna fuck you if you need a hydraulic crane to turn over in bed. She's so demeaning. That you should get your teeth done so your mouth is desirable to your husband. She also encourages plastic surgery, but as long as it's only for the right reasons, and the right reasons are literally doing it so that your husband will want to fuck you because that's what God wants. You need to be attractive to God. Which is ironic because all their husbands end up fucking on little boys anyway. Part 80. So the church makes a shit ton of money based off of its bigoted beliefs because of the requirement to give 10% of your income. And they tell people that God will give it right back to you. And that's why they should do it. Because the more money you give to the church, the more God's gonna reward ya. Awful people, awful beliefs, but they don't want to be seen as a judgmental place, so they pretend to be super inclusive and you're coming home to God. That's what a lot of churches do. If you're in the system and you behave accordingly, the system will reward you. So back to how I was talking about victim marketing, which a lot of people who really have no morals when it comes to money and good PR do. They also just fucking lie. This is Michael, and he's a pastor who pretended to have cancer. He pretended to be dying of cancer. He would perform with a fucking tube through his nose. And his father actually later came out and exposed him for saying that he fabricated the cancer story to cover for the fact that he had a raging porn addiction for 16 years. Guys, people who are trying to get your money and your adoration are playing in your face. Never believe shit like this too quickly. Maybe that's a bad thing to say, but when people are like, oh, I'm sick, or oh god, red fucking flag. A victim of Hillsong named Isaac Anderson, his story stuck out to me because he was someone who initially was trying to seek guidance from Hillsong because he lost his path in life and turned to sex to deal with whatever he was going through. He was drunk all the time, using drugs, bunch of other shit. Just like Justin Bieber, and the guy goes on to say that the youth pastors were trying to set him up with a girl in order to better himself through his faithful journey. Just like Justin Bieber. So while they're making this tax-exempt circulatory income of all of their products and services, I guess you could say that they set up their other churchgoers with other churchgoers to keep them within the same world. This talks about how Justin leaned on Carl Lenz, his pastor, again, so much so to the fact that, like we saw in the interviews, he didn't say, I want to be closer to God. He said, I just want to be closer to Carl. I just love Carl so much, helping him on his lost way, and how he started attending church with Hailey. And we know Kendall goes there too. I believe so does Sophia Richie and Selena. So we had some good options. They started using Justin to monetize their events. It was $350 to get into something with Justin being there. We love Post Malone because in an interview when asked about Justin, he says he's fucking awesome, but he's gotten super religious lately, really culty. It's totally a cult. Someone in the back is like, it's not a cult. And he's like, it's totally a cult. He's already given them like $10 million. Those are the worst kind of people. I see through it and people are spending so much money. God doesn't care about this damn money. So Justin's a big piggy bank to them now too. Part 81. I need a fucking clock out. Like I should have just made all of these separate deep dives, but whatever. Hillsong is the main thing that reunited Justin and Selena together. If the contract or the plan on Selena's end to marry Justin was being ushered through the church, this is good evidence for it. If they were really desperately in love, trying to figure shit out, also works. Either way, Hillsong is getting the PR of a lifetime, and they're making a big pretty penny off of it too. It just kind of touches on how both of them were initially being manipulated by being together through their managers, so Scooter Braun and Selena Gomez's mother. And then after that ended, there was like a slight break until the church got involved to do the same thing. Now, this is what I find interesting in terms of who is associated with who is invested in what, who is a part of what. Because churches taking advantage of people's vulnerability for money is not a new thing. Like most churches are tax exempt, meaning they don't have to pay any taxes on the earnings or the donations that they get. And I'm pretty sure they also have like private files or closed accounts, meaning that like it is not publicized how the church spends its money. So when you have a mega church like Hillsong and you're a social media cool down to earth pastor and all the celebrities and the normal people in your church are giving you 10% of their income, it's cool and it's accessible for you to spend it on shit like this because you're not paying taxes on it and you're able to afford these luxury things because nobody gets to see how the church is spending its money anyway. Who else does this? Kris Jenner. This is one of her other tax haven endeavors. We've seen the Kardashians do lots of scammy things prior to creating personal brands for themselves on social media. Kris Jenner has been through the ringer in terms of different business endeavors, one of them being a credit card that was like ridiculous with the fees and the exploitation of like taking advantage of young girls not knowing how to use their money yet. You can watch that on YouTube somewhere. But the church thing is the same exact thing where when you have a church that's tax exempt and with private accounts in terms of nobody being able to see how the money is being passed around, you're able to kind of circulate all of your money and income. And when you are a member of the church, which the whole family is, you can pour your own income into it and then people cannot see where it's going or where it's being spent from the people that put into it. And because it's a donation and it's written off on your taxes, you're essentially giving your own money to yourself to get it tax-free, which is essentially one of the hacks into how very wealthy people have access to not having to play by the same rules us working folk do. And that's where I started to look into how Lou Taylor is tied into all of this. Celebrity, politics, and church are all a part of the same thing. The Kardashians work with Lou Taylor. Justin goes to church home. And purple is politics. Lou Taylor's the woman that put Britney Spears in the conservatorship, and she tried to do the same thing to Justin. Part 82. I just got out of the shower. This isn't Greece. Happy holidays, even to those who are eating my ass up in the comments. Guys, for the millionth time, when I was using exposing SMG, I did not know that it was the rebranded version of exposing Selena Marie Gomez. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. So many people are like, wow, thought you said you weren't taking any sides. It's clear who you're a stan of. I am 25 years old. I promise I am not secretly standing anybody here. I literally just wanted to include and cover all ground, okay? I'm sorry for using that as a source. I did say that it ended up not being credible. This is my first apology video. What we need to take away from it, though, is that despite whatever he said, she said, again, we're focusing on the cold, hard facts that we have. Selena has a good PR team. We know that. Justin Bieber doesn't really have a good PR team. I feel like Selena could kill somebody and she would still get off the hook. And with that being said, if I was famous, I would want her management and her PR. Justin, on the other hand, someone who, I'm not going to look up the numbers, I would assume is more successful than Selena Gomez. You would think that he would have equally as incredible PR, right? Wrong. And that leads into the conservatorship theory that he was being ushered into looking crazy and batshit and couldn't be tamed like Miley within the public eye, and that would essentially, call for him needing to have a handler or somebody in control of him. Despite the fact that at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that most celebrities are fucking crackheads, not exaggerating. Most celebrities are mentally struggling, addicted to drugs, and just chaotic people. And if you follow me outside of this series, you know that I'm not a male apologist. I really am not. So believe me when I say that I do think him being a boy is the thing that has kind of allowed everybody to dogpile onto him, despite the fact that I do feel again, that he got Britney'd to a certain degree. And that leads me into the threads that I'm going to share with you guys now. These are all from Twitter. And listen, people on Twitter, they know how to tell a fucking story better than I ever could. Again, I'm literally using so many sources. None of this is really coming out of my mouth, besides connecting the idea of Jelena and Jaylee and how that kind of coincides with his participation in the church and how all the adults around him and all of them are just making a ton of money off this chaotic ass love triangle. I really didn't think this series was going to end up tying into Free Britney, but here we are. In 2014, where this series started when Justin ended up going crazy and getting that DUI with Chantel Jeffries, and when he started hanging out with Hailey, his mom wanted to move in with him. He was worried about his behavior and said he needed to go to rehab or have a conservatorship. Part 84, this essentially just talks about how Britney Spears had a relationship contract with Justin Timberlake for publicity, and how that ultimately parallels to Justin and Selena supposedly having a relationship contract as well. I don't know how legit this is. Obviously anything could be, photoshopped and who took this. But when I was referencing exposing SMG, despite the fact that I could tell that they were biased against Selena and still somehow didn't clock that was exposing Selena Marie Gomez just rebranded, I did want to keep sourcing them because they were mentioning the contract, which wasn't something that was only mentioned by exposing SMG. It's something that I've seen in other places, and supposedly this is the photo of it. We'll just take it with a grain of salt. Also, that's just proof that there's clearly a pipeline whenever we have a rising star to be in a romantic relationship with a counterpart that is equally trying to be famous, because that is the very thing to pump passion and picking sides and popularity into the artist or talent, as opposed to the first person that comes to mind is someone like Lorde, who had a boyfriend, but it was this normal person who didn't want to be in the spotlight, so not many people were super interested in him. Just kidding, I don't know shit about him actually. I don't want everyone to get fucking mad at me. I don't think he was famous though. But I don't know, Lana Del Rey is another example. Obviously Lana fans are obsessed and will find out everything about the man. And while I personally think it's more exciting to see a celebrity dating a normal person, matching them with another celebrity that already kind of has a name for themselves as well is going to make those two people skyrocket to success and popularity, or at the very least relevancy. This talks about how I guess there was supposedly something where a video producer was talking about Britney Spears and they were saying they remember feeling sadness and compassion and the terrible wish to extract her from her handlers. and that his heart broke because she tried to whisper something to him and they like hushed her down or tried to control her or something like that. And that same video producer ended up working with Justin, and Justin posted photos of him against a green screen, I guess the same day that those comments about Britney were posted. No proof here. This is just included in the thread that like maybe there's a connection to this guy, knowing that like Justin was also heavily controlled similarly to Britney. More evidence around Scooter Braun just being a very selfish, money hungry person, very greedy, was all of the drama, if you're a Swiftie you know about this, around him trying to sell Taylor Swift's master rights, which ultimately put her in like a helpless situation where she didn't even have ownership of her own talent. So this kind of played into the theory that like Scooter owed a bunch of money and was just victimizing Taylor Swift as a way to like repay that money with her funds, or what should have been her funds. Similarly to Stephen Baldwin, Hailey Baldwin's dad, seemingly tracking down Justin as soon as he was bankrupt. Part 83, we're throwing back really quickly to 2014 just because that's when Justin Bieber's mom was like, maybe we need to put this boy in a conservatorship. And then that kicked off the literal 4 years of him and Selena and Hailey going back and forth. So this person and somebody else I'm going to show you made an incredible thread on Twitter that I'm referencing. Their name is 2freedom19 on Twitter. And they're comparing the parallel between Britney Spears and Justin Bieber. Again, I was not expecting the Frey Britney movie at all to be tied into what I'm talking about, but I do think it's funny that I was saying at the beginning of the series, like, I feel like Justin Bieber got Britney. Like, I feel like everybody was like, he's crazy, he's batshit, he's wild, he's off the hook, as if like any other fucking teenager in the world wouldn't eventually hit a breaking point, having all of the money, access in the world, never being told no, especially being a boy, because you're essentially going to be conditioned into doing drugs, having fun, and sleeping with a bunch of women, and that ultimately reflecting bad on him and his relationship and him looking like an asshole. And I'm not saying he's not an asshole. I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong. There is accountability there. I'm just saying I think anybody in the world would have done the same thing, if not worse, in his position. So they're saying, I think the abusers around Justin have tried and still try to put him in a conservatorship to steal his money. That's essentially the goal with a conservatorship, is saying this person is too crazy to be in control of their own assets. Let me handle them. Both Britney and Justin Spears had a difficult childhood. That's usually the case with child stars. When you don't have much to work with to begin with, and then somebody promises you a dream, you're gonna say yes to it, despite whatever you have to sacrifice, because you think you have nothing to lose besides your humanity. They talk about how the parents of both of the stars just weren't reliable parents. Both of them were insanely talented. You can go watch, obviously, same thing as Britney, but you can go watch old videos of Justin. Like, this person, like, I'm not just saying this because I'm a fan, because I actually didn't like him at first, but the talent is undeniable. I get the same feeling with Miley Cyrus, where it's just like, these people, they have lights inside of them. And we're lucky they're not fucking dead because of all like the pressure and insanity and conditioning and abuse around them. Talks about how he would just do local competitions and then ultimately begin to gain a lot of popularity. He was making some moolah and tips off the Avon Theater steps. Scooter Braun, his manager, ended up seeing videos of him on YouTube and then ultimately like tracked him down and wanted to adopt this child. And his mom, Justin's mom, was initially very hesitant because he was Jewish and they were Christian. People from Justin's mother's church was like, just let Justin go. And then he started singing for Usher literally like a week later. They talk about how both Britney and Justin got managers that pitched them to very big labels and executives from such a young age that they were like workhorses before they even knew who they were yet. Thrown into stardom and ultimately had like a lot of scrutiny around them. No private life, no childhood, and completely overworked. Part 85. This is the second thread I'm going to reference. This is all from Ryan the Sagi. We love a Sagittarius. And this one is less about Scooter and more about the connection to Church Home, which is the church that Justin Bieber is currently at, no longer at Hillsong, and how there's supposed relevancy between the church and then Britney's conservatorship and then Justin's potential conservatorship leading into his marriage. This is just a refresher that Justin got close to Carl Lenz in 2014, ended up living with him for a little bit, had a falling out with Carl Lenz in 2018, and then ultimately Judah Smith, the pastor of Church Home, ended up marrying him and Hailey. Justin joking about having an arranged marriage with Hailey because they were both set up by their parents, because they were both Christian. This talks about church home and how there's no requirement for the congregants to donate any money. The typical expectation, like Hillsong and Kris Jenner's church, is to donate 10% of your income. This is sort of like a business manager and what they would expect from who they're managing, their client. But their financial records are really hard to look into, but it pretty much shows that they're making a shit ton of money. All of it is tax exempt, of course, and of course the board of directors is only under review of a few people. One of those directors being Lou Taylor. Again, this is the woman that put Britney Spears in a conservatorship. This was initially Britney Spears' business manager. Scooter Braun is Justin's manager. And essentially, when you're an entrepreneur or just somebody who's trying to make a lot of money, your best bet in being crazy successful is either getting a mentor that already has the things that you want, hang around people that have the things that you want and make similar decisions to them that put them in such a place of power, or literally look at somebody that is a powerhouse, essentially copy everything that they do. As opposed to reinventing the wheel and focusing on ethics, it's most successful to exploit and duplicate, and it's really easy to do that. The most successful pop stars in the world. He also managed for some time Kid Laroi, but Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato is a client that worries me because I could easily see her being in a conservatorship. And when you have a cool manager who's super down to earth and has the name of a child's toy, when something like this happens, something unethical, Justin Bieber defended him, and they both kind of cornered Taylor into her, perceived misconception, representation of her being this dramatic woman, this emotional, like feminine, out of control woman, and said that she was just trying to create drama. Over $300 million worth of her masters. So did Demi Lovato. She defended Scooter and said, he's a good man. Because when you have someone in your face telling you that they're helping you, you think that they're helping you. So then your minions that you manage can go after people that are actually like, hello, you're being unethical. But whatever, back to the thread. Supposedly, Lou Taylor had been preying on Britney to put her in a conservatorship and even tried to do it to Lindsay Lohan as well. Her dad clocked it. Part 86. So Lou Taylor tried to put Lindsay Lohan in a conservatorship, but her dad caught it and was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Because anybody who cares about their kids would realize that they're being funneled into a very powerless position and being exploited financially. I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not caught up with the Free Britney movement and all of the things regarding her conservatorship. But I do know, at least to my knowledge, that her dad was like in on it and taking advantage of her. So the two problems here are if somebody's trying to tell you that your kid that is struggling needs to be put in a conservatorship, you have the moral debate of, I really care about my kid and I know this is going to hurt them, but I think that this is going to help them because that's how it's being told to me. Or having the moral debate of, this is my kid and putting them in this situation would not probably be the best thing for them, but I'm going to make a shit ton of money doing it. If I can make a deal within that, which to my knowledge is what happened with Britney and her father. Correct me if I'm wrong. Lou Taylor is also the wife of somebody who is a pastor to the Calvary Chapel, which is another church with a lot of secret finances going on. Calvary and Hillsong, Justin's old church where Carl Pastor was, they essentially had a lot of workshops together. Some of them even included Carl Lenz, that was the guy who was Justin Bieber's youth pastor that we talked about a million times here, as well as Brian Houston, the one that had to defend his father's sexual abuse allegations and has the wife that thinks you should be skinny and fuckable for God. So Mercy Mysteries was an evangelical charity that was essentially supposed to obviously, with the intention, help people. But there ended up being a huge scandal and I think a lawsuit as well around a lot of people coming out saying they were psychologically tortured, they facing a lot of emotional cruelty and medically unproven techniques such as exorcism and signing over their social welfare payments. And Hillsong essentially, I think, was very tied into this. There was a lot of theft, abuse, homophobia, conversion therapy, threats, control, isolation. The program ended up being so threatening and harmful that there's an entire support network for it, or survivors of it. So Hillsong ultimately ended up cutting off ties from Mercy Ministries because they didn't want to be associated with it anymore, despite the fact that there was a lot of overlap and crossover between people in Hillsong and Mercy Ministries. But Calvary Chapel, so Lou Taylor and her husband's church, still kept their ties to Mercy Ministries. The reason this is a raise for concern is because Mercy Ministries conveniently received a $42,000 donation from the Britney Spears Foundation after Britney was put into the conservatorship. You can see it right here. So despite Calvary, Hillsong, and Church Home all being very like, we're open to everybody because they know that's going to bring people in and give them their coin, we're clearly seeing a habit of them being very homophobic. Mercy Ministries had conversion therapy. Calvary Church, Lou Taylor's husband's church, is anti-LGBTQ. Part 87, don't say a damn thing about my headphones. I'm using them because you guys bully me for whispering. Yeah, we can see a clear inconsistency between the celebrity churchgoers of all these churches, Calvary, Hillsong, and Church Home, seemingly being like left-leaning. I don't even think that's the term that I'm trying to use here, but rather like down-to-earth, likable celebrities that think people should just be who they want to be. And then attend these churches that are not only very financially suspicious, but also extremely homophobic. So we already know that greedy business people use religion to manipulate vulnerable people in order to get close to celebrities. This was Judah Smith's wife. This is the woman that was talking about how she just suddenly got struck with this insane empathy for celebrities and wanted to create a church for them. Seriously wonder if that was out of the warmth of her heart, because that 10% income thing is a little telling. They go on to talk about how both Justin's mom and Britney's dad were both targeted in order to gain access to all of their money. This is an excerpt from an interview with Lou Taylor herself from 2006, saying that she seeks out people from the sports and entertainment industry who do not know God yet. She wants to be their introduction to a better life, which is fine. Be a Jehovah's Witness, but clearly there's money involved, and that's the whole point. She says, I know high-profile professionals who come out of this lifestyle with drunkenness, promiscuity, the whole thing. They can't, the irony of this all, put themselves back into an environment because of the temptation it creates. Basically, it goes on to say God can fix that, which again, I'm not knocking that. But we all know why people are targeting celebrities and rich people and millionaires and billionaires and not poor people on the street who could really use some faith. Religion has been used to control people for centuries. It's not a new concept. Now, instead of kings and lords, it's pop stars and talents and musicians. And exploit and duplicate, same concept, new victims. There's a reason why religion and money is so tightly tied together. This brings us back to 2014 when Justin was having his losing streak, his villain era, if you will. And it talks about how Justin's mom wanted to place him in a conservatorship or rehab. That was when he started living with Carl Lenz. He did not go to rehab with like medical professionals or psychiatrists. He was getting therapy, counseling, rehab from a youth pastor who took advantage of him and cheated on his wife. And allegedly, Jeremy Bieber, Justin Bieber's birth father, and Jamie Spears are discussing a conservatorship for Justin Bieber. This was back in 2014 as well. And this talks about how Kris Jenner was actually a founder of Calvary Chapel Church. Again, Lou Taylor and her husband's church, the very homophobic one, very secretively financial one, despite Kris having her own church and their tie to Hillsong. So clearly a lot of money to be found in churches, especially if you're committing tax evasion, or just being a wholesome religious woman and donating from the warmth of your heart to your own mom's church. That way you can have that money untaxed. Guys, I promise I'm going to finish the Jelena and Jaylee series, but please look. I was posting my predictions about the Super Bowl tonight, and I posted this around like 5:45. Tell me why I literally said, could you imagine if she did a Beyonce Grammys pregnancy reveal? Talking about Rihanna. I tweeted it at 5:43 p.m. Like, it is literally scary being so sexy and so smart. A lot of you thought that Hillsong got my ass. Hillsong didn't, but TikTok did. So we want to be careful and just not poke the bear. I'm still very much alive. Sorry to those that disappoints. You guys know I literally just have a fixation problem. I talk about something so much, know every detail of it for 2 days, and then after that, who cares? Not me. I literally just leaves my brain. But I've been getting a lot of tags per recent events. Recent events being Selena Gomez literally just posting on TikTok. I've just been busy being right on Twitter. Guessed Rihanna's pregnancy, got the Super Bowl correct, called Kendall Jenner being in the press for a big relationship. So follow me there because that's where I do the most word vomit. Where my genius shows. And I promise the next time that I do a deep dive or a very long series, I will do it all in one sitting. That way you guys do not have to wait 2 months for the end of it. And I know the majority of you are probably like, girl, we don't care. But I literally cannot comment on a TikTok with at least somebody being like, that's funny, where's part 88? And I did do a very fun astrology collab with somebody that we know and love here on TikTok, but I know that I cannot share that without finishing this first. So with that being said, I did find some things that I wasn't even looking for during this break. between very interesting old tweets from Hailey, some interesting crossovers, some stuff with Diddy, which was like the more darker side of the things that I wanted to talk about. Allegedly is going to be our favorite word in finishing the series. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. I'm not trying to get sued. But we'll start with the two things that I had no idea about. And we'll talk more about the maybe darker industry stuff, all the overlap with conservatorships, Lou Taylor, grooming in the industry, etc. And then we can maybe have my final verdict on the whole Hailey versus Selena. The whole thing's a fucking mess. There's my answer. But we will get into it and wrap this up. So the first thing is that I found out Selena Gomez supposedly, allegedly, did not write The Heart Wants What It Wants. And when I tell you, I thought Selena Gomez was like choking, screaming, crying, throwing up, sliding down the walls, tears hitting the ink blots on the paper that she was writing the lyrics on. We've been fooled. You got me sipping on something I can't compare to nothing. So then I was under the impression that Gwen Stefani wrote the song as a demo for Selena Gomez. Somebody said Selena wrote it, trashed it, Gwen took it, and then she said, never mind, I want it again. I think it's also crucial that we note that Selena cannot read. Why is it so funny every time to think of a celebrity not being able to read? Also, side note, Gwen Stefani is represented by Lou Taylor. That's not to say that I think Gwen has anything to do with the marriage. She doesn't. So many people are wrapped into Lou's little claws. The other thing was that I did a deep dive on Hailey's old tweets, which her account has since been deleted. I have a video of our old conversation, like as one of my first videos here on TikTok. It was literally nothing other than me saying, like, are you friends with Justin Bieber? And her being like, why does everyone think we don't know each other? Part 89, I believe. So what I did was an advanced search on Hailey Baldwin, the name like being mentioned as early as Twitter started. And I found a lot of funny things that I'm going to share at the end of this that like aren't that important. But all you need to know is that Hailey was in there with the girlies. Hailey was a stan. We know this. She was like one of the elevated stans that was a little bit more than a stan because she like got to go do a lot of meet and greets and stuff. But this was obviously the case with like other people in the industry, not just Justin. In fact, Justin was not her first little trick. Because I had no idea, but she was in a Cody Simpson music video, which brings me back to my theory that I do think her family was like ushering her into hypergamy from a very young age, or at least trying to like keep her in the celebrity realm. I think they banked on Cody Simpson first, then tried it with Austin Mahone, I don't know how to say his name, dipped their toes in the Harry Styles pool, and then ended up with J. Bieber, baby. He put the ring on it. It looked like her and Cody Simpson were dating when she was like 15 years old, but it leads me to the same conclusion that it does with Justin, where I'm like, you know what, yeah, maybe they were in love, like it looks like they were a couple, or is this just like a business partnership? But something I found interesting is that I stumbled upon a Burning in Hell podcast episode, which is Hannah Berner's podcast, who we know and love, and Claire Parker, who we know and love, so funny. And she was the guest on this episode talking about like celebrity theories, blind items, things like that. The episode was posted to YouTube at least in the summer of 2022, like I think August. And Claire is talking about the theory that Hillsong is this big cult. It's a big thing between celebrities. And this is what she says.
On Burning in Hell, but I digress. Hailey Bieber is very religious, and her dad is like crazy religious, and Justin Bieber is very religious. You're saying there is like a very religious, famous cult where they like put them off to each other?
They all belong to.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, there's about to be a documentary that I think is about to come out on Hillsong, because they're getting, I mean, one by one, the sexcapades of the top leaders of that church are coming to light, and it's about to blow up. The top members of that cult get like sex girlfriends. And I have heard, I'm kind of like a blind item freak.
Is Chris Pratt associated with
He's
Hillsong?
in Hillsong. I heard he was supposed to marry Hailey Bieber, but they gave her to Justin instead.
Wait!
So based off of what you just saw, Hannah Berner ends up going on the Chicks in the Office podcast, or whatever it's called, sorry. And she goes on to tell a story that Hailey Bieber essentially saw that podcast episode and then DM'd Hannah about it. But the weird thing that I've noticed as a pattern is that whenever Hailey has a video on Twitter about her and it's like controversial, it gets silenced. Like it goes silent. Part 90.
Friends with Hailey Bieber. Oh, she hasn't told you?
I haven't heard.
We haven't
I
heard
don't
that
like to
yet.
tell people like when I first see them.
You tell everyone. Okay, well,
I did this video on my podcast about conspiracy theories, and this girl Claire Parker, hilarious comedian, was like, "There's a conspiracy theory that Hailey and Justin were like forced together through one of the churches."
yes, I saw this.
And that was originally supposed to be with Hailey. Look at me spreading
wait, I
it.
saw that.
Hills, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to spread it. I'm just giving them background.
I saw this video.
Get a DM from Hailey Bieber. And I'm shook. I feel like it's a fan account, but it has like 14 million followers or whatever. And it's TikTok, where I'm deeply respected. And so she's basically like...
I'm stopping us here because this is where the video goes silent. And I thought it was my phone at first, but then I found another video where she's doing like a live on Instagram, and I think she's with Justine Skye, and they're playing like Truth or Dare or something like that. And the question is, have you ever had sex in public? And then some other like scandalous question. And Hailey is talking, but the video cuts out when she starts speaking. It only goes silent when it's something that could make Hailey even look the slightest bit bad. And I think it's important to note too that Hailey is now managed by Scooter, which is Justin Bieber's manager. And obviously her publicist does an incredible job, so does Selena Gomez's. But there's a lot of content on the internet that gets posted about like Hailey, old tweets, old things she said, controversial things that really aren't that bad. But I feel like it's the same approach as Selena's brand, where it's like squeaky clean or nothing. There is subtitles in the next part of the video that I'm going to play, and Selena Gomez can't read, but I can, so I'll read them to you.
She's basically like, hey.
Hailey says, hey, it's kind of crazy that people think that I could be given to somebody in a cult. Like, that's crazy. So Hannah was like, oh my god, she's mad at me. So then Hannah responded by throwing Claire Parker under the bus and being like, oh my god, she was talking about all of these, wild conspiracy theories. She said, I'm so sorry, I should not have posted that. So then Hannah says that the joke is that she didn't know how to greet her, like, hey girly. So instead of that, she chose to say, my love. And then Hailey responded back to her, so Hannah jokes about needing a restraining order because Hailey's obsessed with her. And Hailey said, oh my god, no worries, I love your content, whatever. And then she followed Hannah. Hannah jokes about, life being different now that Hailey's following her. And then
You're exactly wearing what Hailey Bieber would.
you see how I'm like, okay, that is not my phone. And I've noticed this with Selena too, where T channels and people that like somehow get to the dirt of things have either been reported to YouTube or requested by Selena's team, allegedly themselves, and asked them to remove the parts in their videos where they talk about how Selena went to rehab for exhaustion or for mental health reasons or for her lupus, but that those particular rehabs are specific to rehabilitating like substance abuse problems. I personally just feel like when things like that get silenced, it's like, are you telling on yourself? It's just funny and more suspicious to me. Okay, half of that video like did not post. Basically, the meat of what I was saying is that I've said to you guys before, I'm not built for TikTok because I can't deal with people that don't listen and people don't use their critical thinking skills. What I was trying to say was, in this particular part, this is the part of the series where I'm talking about how on Chicks in the Office podcast, Hannah Berner is talking about Hailey messaging her saying, she was basically expressing her annoyance that Hannah had a podcast episode, basically making it seem like Hailey was only married to Justin due to the Hillsong church cult. My point in this particular part was I was saying videos of Hailey and Selena, both of them, get silenced or removed from any platform when it's controversial content. And everyone was like, I actually just listened to the podcast and it's not silent. I'm not talking about the podcast. I'm saying any like screen recording or video that could be controversial. Particularly, I was noticing it with Hailey and Hillsong. It gets silenced. That was my point. And what do you know? The sound gets removed from my video. I've tried appealing it and I think it is back up. But for I don't know why this video confused everybody so much. Everybody was like, this doesn't make sense. Everything that you're saying does not make sense. I literally don't understand what was confusing about it. My point was that anything controversial gets taken out or silenced. And this just like proved my point. There's also 2 or 3 videos that got completely, entirely removed, particularly the ones where I'm talking about how Selena Gomez might have, at one point in her life, done a drug one time just like everybody else in the world, and it got removed for drugs. Despite the fact that in every other video I'm talking about Justin Bieber being on drugs. It's fine if we're talking about Justin. Anytime it's Hailey or Selena, it's getting removed. Part 91. Anyways, that's why I hate when you guys tag Hailey and Selena and Justin in the content that I'm posting, because if anyone's gonna see it, it's literally gonna be Hailey or Selena, because she comments on everything now. It makes me nervous. But at the end of the day, I'm just talking to talk, and I am curious as to like why the undercurrent, the common denominator between all of these people is that, you know, they're a part of this very exploitative church that literally unethically robs people, and that they're all supposedly, you know, left-leaning, liberal, you know, celebrities on social media in an attempt to earn the appeal of the public and again have this like squeaky clean image, but they're a part of like legitimately a cult. And that's why these like crossover, you know, overlapping theories of Selena trying to talk to Judah Smith and get this deal on the line that like they're gonna weaponize religion by trying to get this marriage together, and then equally so this theory of like Hailey supposedly doing the same thing with a different approach is weird, because they go to a church where the board of directors is Lou Taylor, the woman that put Britney in conservatorship, tried to put Selena, Justin, Kanye West, all of these people in a conservatorship in an attempt to make a big penny, and then seeing how all of that also bleeds into the Kardashians, but how all three of these people are like in the same circle as the Kardashians. Selena, I would say, is like the most removed one, but her little sister is like really close with the Kardashians, you know, like youngest generation of kids. I certainly don't think like Lou Taylor's the only big name that we're working with here. It's just the one that I've seen as far as like documentation and seeing how there's suspicious activity. For example, between like Britney's conservatorship money, like $600,000 or something being shuffled and lost from Britney under like a donation or something, and then that going from the Britney Foundation to Kim Kardashian's business, and how there's all these like coincidences and correlations allegedly between these seemingly, you know, declining mental health celebrities, Kanye West, Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, and how they're all intertwined into this larger web that Lou Taylor just happens to have her paws in. And the Kardashians and people that run with the Kardashians, like, getting wealthier, and it doesn't completely reflect in their actual sales. Allegedly, of course. Anyways, if Hailey, Justin, Selena, anybody gets tagged in this and does see it, please DM me and just tell me. I'm good at keeping secrets. Okay, to the grooming conversation. Allegedly, Justin Bieber was signed by Usher. Usher was signed to Diddy. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, owns a million labels under the sun. Has a lot of power in the music industry, as does L.A. Reid. Justin Bieber almost signed to Justin Timberlake and then ended up signing with Usher to Def Jam Records, but then Usher and Scooter Braun, Justin's manager, created Raymond Braun, his own record label that only has Justin as the sole artist, nobody else. Part 92. So obviously there's a lot of theories around Justin Bieber allegedly being very like passed around and exploited through the music industry from a very young age. When your world flips upside down and you're being the one that's responsible to be able to fix the fact that you and your mother, your single mother, have no money, this giant opportunity in front of you, you're going to take it. And it's going to flip your world upside down at 13 years old before you can even make an informed decision. All of that pressure and overwhelm and just like lifestyle pivot, huge change, seemingly overnight, paired with now not really hanging out with people your age unless it's like in a professional environment and it's equally other like upcoming talents that are equally getting exploited. It then replaces your ability to like have normal friendships your age, and now you only have industry friends, and your friends become your employees who are seemingly there to help you and support you. They're your bestie, they're funny, but they're all getting paid a lot off of overworking you and exploiting you and making the little monkey dance for the show. So Justin Bieber's father wasn't around when he was younger, and this father figure, authority figure, and friendship was all wrapped up now into Scooter Braun, Usher Raymond, and then all of the, you know, people that came on his path as he gained fame. Now, in my research of trying to find, like, really anything about Usher and Justin's relationship, nothing is really, you know, suspicious or weird. The only thing that really exists is the fact that they wrote Somebody to Love together. Like, that's it. But there's a whole lot of information on Diddy, who, I'm sorry, maybe he didn't sign Usher, but he was like assigned as a mentor to Usher, who also got famous at a very young age for being talented. The same age, I believe, 13, 14. And there's a lot of things about Diddy on the internet. that Justin Bieber fans probably won't see, because Diddy has like a lot of more so like rappers, people from a few decades ago, earlier hip-hop days, that like worked alongside him or under him. A lot of people know him from Making the Band, which was the show for Danny D. Kane, and Aubrey O'Day was a part of Danny D. Kane.
What happened to Danny D. Kane? Why did the band break up?
Diddy fired me on the sixth, I think it was the sixth season. At the very end, he fired me.
Why?
Not for the reasons he said on TV.
What did he say on TV?
On TV, it was like, to sum it up quickly, was like, you're wilding out. I was hanging out with Kim Kardashian. We were best friends. He thought I was like, he basically like told me I was going in a hoe direction to like cut ties with everybody. What the truth was is probably what you can imagine. I don't know legally what I can say or can't.
Can you give us a little?
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other...
Part 93, go watch the Call Her Daddy episode with Aubrey O'Day, because it's just so good and so interesting. And she also talks about like Pauly D, experience with Donald Trump Jr. It's interesting. She's the only woman that I really saw speak out about Diddy, but I've actually seen a lot of podcasts of men talking about like, oh, you'll see one day, it'll all make sense, all this seems funny now. But Diddy does some shit behind closed doors with the people that want to be famous and want to be a star. I know one of them was like 50 Cent on The Breakfast Club, I think, but I want to make it clear too that like the allegations that I'm referring to have to do with the fact that it's like exploiting and preying as a predator on like vulnerable people who need him to access like the point of success that they want, therefore giving into maybe schmexual favors. And there's a fine line of like some of the men that are talking about Diddy, not necessarily saying that he's doing anything like unethical, but they're like dipping into homophobia. So just, you know, use your discernment to see the difference between the two.
Moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp?
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what
Camp.
it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really.
14.
I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was
'Cause you're
pretty
13.
wild. It was,
So nobody
it was crazy.
tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there, Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
See?
Sorry, it's hard for me to watch Howard Stern without rolling my eyes. I'm Howard Stern's #1 fucking hater. I literally can't think about him without almost popping a blood vessel from clenching my teeth so hard. I do not like that man, and you'll see why in the next clip, but it just goes to show that it's literally industry standard to expect that when you're a young boy coming into the industry, you're essentially like groomed to be excited to get molested, because that means you're a star. Part 94. So it's no secret that a lot of young men that get pulled into the entertainment industry from a very young age are often groomed by older men who become so accustomed to like their wealth, their lifestyle, their power, having so much excess that they perpetuate this cycle of toxic masculinity onto the newcomers, the up and coming talent. And I literally hate the term toxic masculinity, so I'm not using that as just a blanket statement for like trying to be hard, like not being emotional or something like that. That's not what we're referring to, but rather the countless stories of hearing about how young boys get recognized for their talent so young, usually when they're still children, like Usher and Justin Bieber at 13 years old, and then being exposed to to by a grown man who knows better this like lifestyle, this rock star lifestyle of money, sex, drugs, when you're literally still a child. And these are the people that you are now depending on to keep you safe, help you navigate, help you learn the ropes. These are your friends, despite the fact that they're 20, 30 years older than you. These are the people now that you trust because you're not going to normal high school anymore. If your parents are allowing you into this sort of situation, it's either because they're exploiting you or because they're depending on you, both of which are incredibly dangerous. The reason that this has become so obvious and so rampant is because we hear it through the lens of the victim themselves, usually flexing it or bragging it in their music. Because getting money, bitches, and drugs when you're 13 years old essentially means you're a man now. You are a man and you are famous, you are a star, you've made it. Drake says something like, knew I was a man before the age of 6, something about, I think, hooking up with his babysitter years later. Babe, you're a victim. We hear a lot of rappers literally giggle on a mic about how they got their by a 38-year-old hooker when they were like 11. Lil Wayne has some stories about this. Like, it's not a secret, and we see this with people that aren't famous either. That's something else we need to talk about one day that nobody wants to talk about, and men certainly don't want to talk about it yet. Baby, a lot of you guys losing your news and having your first sexual experiences because your babysitter who's 10 years older than you came on to you and you didn't have a choice because you were a child, because your teacher molested you, because your friend's older sister touched you, isn't a flex. Baby, you are a victim, but men are taught to value that, be turned on by getting assaulted because of corn. And that's something else that I talk about here on my page when I'm not talking about this stuff. But I do feel like that Justin was a victim of that. And it's just obvious that it's like, haha, jokey, especially because of this clip.
All these dick pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis. You're sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your cock or leave it in your pants. I mean, do you sit him down and say,
Hey, by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with is his prerogative.
I've been summoned and I don't want to hear shit about the headphones, okay? I promise we are nearing the end of this series. I am just so booked right now. Book a reading with me in my bio. We left off on the concept of Justin supposedly being groomed by the entertainment industry. There's these 2 blind items posted on Crazy Days and Crazy Nights in 2020. Said this foreign-born A-list tweener is about to name names of those who abused him when he was an underage teen. There's going to be some very big names. The other one says this foreign-born former... Can I say that 3 times fast? This tweener, don't like the word tweener, seemingly distanced himself from the church, but the records show that his wife donated nearly $2 million to the church that hides child molesters, not the Catholic Church. How bad does that suck that it needed a qualifier? Oof. His blind items are from October of 2020, but his Yummy music video came out in January of 2020. His blind items came out a month before Carl Lenz, Justin Bieber's youth pastor, had been very close to him since his rise to fame, similarly to Usher's legal guardian being Diddy. I think Carl Lenz was ever Justin's legal guardian. It was his spiritual advisor, his mentor. He lived with him. Carl Lenz left Hillsong due to cheating on his wife and then a whole bunch of sexual assault allegations coming out about him in 2020. Hillsong and Carl Lenz and Judah Smith all did a really good job at branding themselves to be like this down-to-earth, real talk approach to religion. Despite the A-list following of Justin, Selena, all those people, the church just like crumbled down under all of these allegations because there was a lot of sexual abuse and grooming within the church and the generations of the people that came before Carl Lenz, like Brian Houston, his father. That is conspiracy, like it's real, it happened. Justin ended up leaving Hillsong, as did Carl Lenz, now that his relationship with him seemed to kind of diminish. The fans thought that the Yummy music video was a attempt to kind of expose his experience within the entertainment industry / the church. Very niche QAnon sort of themes. Code words like pizza, yummy. Unfamiliar with QAnon, it's kind of a large branch of the alt-right Christian pipeline. An online subculture that essentially believes that the entire world is puppeteered by the deep state, which is the very wealthy celebrity political elite. All of them have essentially gained and maintained their power through satanic worship in the form of sacrificing children and general consensus is that somehow Donald Trump, of all people in the world, is supposedly the only one who can put an end to this. At its root, it's a political dumpster fire. The general consensus is that the world's most famous celebrities, most powerful, wealthy politicians, business owners, capitalists, essentially been a victim of this like sex ring or sexual abuse, and endure that and perpetuate it in return for massive success and wealth. I promise this all connects. Part 96, we are in the car again because, guys, I live in a small house and there's adults that live in that house that work from home, and they do not want to hear me screaming about Justin Bieber and the church and the sex ring while they're trying to just get their job done. So I'm in the car, not mad about it because the lighting's beautiful. But I'm a loud bitch, trust me, I don't like whispering, so we're dealing with it in here until I get my own place and then I can scream all I want. So despite wherever you fall on the spectrum of being somebody who is a QAnoner to more so where I lie, where I do not believe in the political aspect of like Donald Trump is gonna save us all, obviously, but I do not think it's like insane to assume that people that have a lot of wealth and power are not, you know, dipping into the realm of sex trafficking and sexual assault and pedophilia, because it's a fact. It's not a theory anymore, like we've seen it. Or if you don't believe in any of that stuff at all and you think that everybody's reaching, despite whatever your opinion is, it is uncanny, like the connections that we see in the Yummy video, and that's why it was like kind of hard to ignore. And that's why a lot of people thought that he literally was gonna like come out and say something about a sexual allegation, something with the church, something with the entertainment industry, etc. So I'm not gonna break down the whole music video. I'm sure there's a bunch of videos of people doing that on YouTube, like frame per frame. But when you watch it, a lot of the promo was like the pizza stuff, very, like, you know, food oriented. When you watch the music video, he is entering a restaurant. There's a bunch of flashing lights. It's supposed to be paparazzi. When he enters the room of very like rich, old, wealthy people, they're all like eating and they look at him and it's like, oh shit, like Justin's here. Then he breaks into song. He's like, you got that yummy, and they're fine. They're all like filling their faces. Food is very like cartoony and fake looking and honestly like very gross. He like jumps on the table and he's shirtless and like performing for them at the end. They're all dancing, living their lives. There's children's music playing at the beginning. It's very weird, like point blank period. It's a weird song. It's a weird video.
But what were you thinking of when you wrote that yummy?
Yeah. My sex life.
Okay. That's what I thought it was. Because there's something about toes curling and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm married, you know?
Yeah, so you got that yummy.
That's what it is, you know?
Yep, it's yummy.
I don't think it's weird for him to write a song about his sex life, but to have that be the video for is interesting, especially when it ends like this. This being the last thing on the plate, and this being him when he was a child. Mind you, Ellen is one of the biggest names that comes up when we're talking about this trafficking stuff, as well as John Podesta, who has a bunch of leaked emails using these code words about trafficking children. Go to the next part. Part 97. So John Podesta, just look him up. He is the name of like the man who's like kind of like the one of the ringleaders of all of this awful stuff that we're talking about. And people that have tried to do deep dives on this video in particular have said that this guy that's in the shot of the video is supposed to be him. Now in my brain, I immediately thought of Woody Allen because I see the glasses and I'm like trying to think of every predator that I can think of in Hollywood. Woody Allen is a very well-known filmmaker and he's infamous for marrying his girlfriend's adopted daughter that he's known since she was a child. His actual daughter, his blood daughter, has also accused him of sexual abuse as well as a whole bunch of other allegations. And that's actually something that Selena catches a lot of heat for because she loves him. Like, she's worked with him despite these things coming to light. And listen, I don't like to blame women for the actions of men, especially when they're cornered in an industry where you kind of like are surrounded by predators. And that's not to say that she doesn't have a choice, because you do. I think that's where the argument of debate comes in, where it's like, how can your brand be like standing up to things like this and then just working with someone who clearly is like, no? That's a whole other conversation for a different day though. I guess a Selena fan brought this up to her mother on Instagram and her mom said, sorry, no one can make Selena do anything she doesn't want to. I had a long talk with her about not working with him and it didn't click. Her team are amazing people. There's no fall person here. No one controls her. She makes all of her own decisions. No matter how hard you try to advise, it falls on deaf ears. When Selena was asked about it amidst the Me Too movement, she said, to be honest, I'm not sure how to answer, not because I'm trying to back away from it. The Harvey Weinstein allegations actually happened right after I started on the movie. They popped up in the midst of it, and that's something, yes, I had to face and discuss. I stepped back and thought, wow, the universe works in interesting ways. it's like an interesting thing to say. I think this just goes back to her branding though, like this whole like neutral is better than nothing, anything to look squeaky clean, don't get your hands dirty. Like, I don't know, I guess that's PR. Sorry, I'm just dead. Like, imagine being asked to sign a carpet about all this insane Me Too movement of awful allegations towards the people that you choose to work with, and being like, yeah, I was like, the universe works in crazy ways. Don't get mad at me. It's just, Hollywood is just, I don't have words. However, the point is that people just thought that Justin was trying to do like a cry for help through a creative vessel in terms of trying to speak out about this stuff without actually speaking out. This is after he's already been married to Hailey, so people thought that the marriage itself was supposed to be a conservatorship that was put in place because he was going to speak out about the church and about these allegations, and that the marriage was like to rehabilitate his image. And in the same way that Britney would communicate with people through social media and the things that she would post, this was supposed to serve the same purpose. Who knows? Anyway, part 98. So I don't necessarily think that Usher like did anything to Justin Bieber as his protege. However, I do feel like he was surrounded by people that are obviously like preying on him in the industry and taking advantage of him, and then mixing drugs and alcohol into that before he's even like a legal age is really messy, especially again because he's removed from having a normal life to begin with. There's a very long-standing history of him like very blatantly getting sexually harassed, whether it be during an interview, on stage, around the people that are supposed to be protecting him. And it was always just kind of laughed off, obviously, because it was, you know, this situation of this being a young boy and the people harassing him typically being older women. I also somehow forgot to mention that the marketing for this video was Justin solely just posting copious amounts of photos of people's babies. It was very weird and like wildly inappropriate, especially because again, if we're talking about this video being called Yummy and it's about having sex with his wife, why are we using pictures of children to promote that? The message that he supposedly gave the song about what it was about just never made sense and amounted to what the music video was and the marketing around it. And that's why it was like fishy and weird, which then reiterated these stills from his music video. This one's inappropriate, but I believe they were from the Where Are You Now music video. Justin from the jump as a child had a lot of weird things said about him. There was obviously a lot of controversy about, oh, he's gay. Him being very handsome, him being very young, him being maybe more feminine or having a higher voice because he was a child. Being a heartthrob, writing songs about love, all of that put him in a position where he was just relentlessly bullied. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers when he was first getting famous, and it still happens. This wasn't like an NSYNC, like a Justin Timberlake, like just a heartthrob point blank period. Full grown adults would be like, yeah, I hope he dies. He's gay. He's a lesbian. And it was just very weird. But as he was gaining fame, he went through the like sexual harassment that a young woman would go through the industry. But the punchline was that he was like a boy, so it's supposed to be funny. And again, that doubles down on reiterating the toxic masculinity thing that I'm talking about, especially within the industry, where it's like, you should be enjoying this. Like, every 16-year-old boy wants a MILF. If you don't enjoy it, it's because you're gay. It's because you're not a man. There was a weird MILF-themed photo shoot in 2010 with Kim Kardashian. He's a 15-year-old boy at the time, so obviously he's attracted to her. She is double his age. She's 30 at the time. And the vibe is supposed to be like heartthrob, like he's such a hot kid that he can get a grown woman. I don't know, it's just weird to me, like, why wasn't this with Kendall? Kim's brand at the time was different. Like, it was like, you know, playing on the hypersexuality, playing on the controversial like sex symbols. She was still talking like Paris Hilton at the time. He wasn't exaggerating when he said that they've been very close for a very long time. It's interesting. I literally think we're on part 99. Anyways, you guys know I was a Justin Bieber stan. I was at those hotels, I was at those concerts, I was at those shows. And so it was this group of middle-aged women. I tried to Google Moms for Bieber, that's what it was called, but I didn't find any photos for it. I don't think it was like particularly like this consistent group of women, but I remember when I would go to like SNL or the Today Show or something, they have to put barricades up because people wait hours before he has his appearance because people love Bieber. So I would like go after school one day before the weekend, or I would skip school, and you would literally camp out for like 20 hours, even longer than that sometimes, outside of his hotel, outside of a venue, outside of wherever he was showing up for an interview, in like a desperate hope that you would get to meet him and see him as he came in and out. People were always with like their parents or their moms or by themselves, whatever. I'm talking about particularly in New York City. And I remember this group of women was always at the front of the barricades, always at the front of the line. And it was middle-aged women, no children. And it was moms for Bieber. And they had like sequined, like painted shirts. Imagine having someone like, I don't know, like Ariana Grande when she was 16 years old and having a group of men that's like dads for Ari. Just trying to paint the picture that like things like that were normal, so that enabled things like this to happen on stage.
American Music Award goes to
First of all, I was up here. I forgot to thank.
Joked about what Bieber jokingly called violating.
I did grab his butt. I'm single, but I think that's cougar rape.
So was the butt grab spontaneous?
Well, it better be, because that's just weird if it isn't. Yeah, you know, I gave him a kiss, and there was a lot of lipstick, and then my partner Luke decided to wipe it off, and I was like, no, soul, I did that for a reason. So you remember me. So then I couldn't help it. He was just so delicious, so little, just
And listen, I'm not here to tell Justin Bieber that something traumatized him when it didn't. I'm not going to sit here and be like, that was his biggest trauma. It's just that, you know, if there's a general consensus that this stuff is funny, it worries me for what can happen behind closed doors with him, with women, with anybody. Especially when being surrounded by a bunch of men and rappers and powerful people who are pimping you out, but you don't know that because you think they're cool. And I want to show you guys this video that I found of Justin and Diddy when he was like very young. It's just, oh. And then we'll talk about Hailey, Selena, and the astrology. We'll get to the stuff that I know you guys want. We have made it to part 100. I look like I go to Hillsong with this necklace. I hate these glasses, but I have to wear them sometimes when I'm in front of the screen too long. They're blue light. I'm sorry. Also, to every single person that listen, I know 100 videos is a lot. My job being an astrologer and this being a part of my account does kind of pay me in a way, because with every video that I post, a lot of people want readings from me. And thank you if you're waiting for one. It's on its way. But people who are like, God, can't you talk about something important that's actually going to change the world? First of all, I do when I'm not, you know, posting 100 videos about Justin Bieber. If you scroll down to my other content, I do post about important things. Second of all, everyone that says that, I go to their page because I'm like, oh, what thing are they changing in the world? And literally every single video is... We can go all time. We can move fast, then rewind. So I don't want to hear it. I promise you're not changing the world either, bitch. So, okay, the Diddy video.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
There's not a thought behind those eyes.
It's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So
like, is this not a little weird?
Full, crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours?
48 hours. Let's go. Let's just go get some girls. Let's go hang with some girls.
A man after my heart. That's what I'm talking about.
The thing about Justin is he's literally such a performer at heart. The kid knows how to like turn on in front of a camera. The fact that Diddy is like the grown man, the adult in that video, and he's like being uncomfortable and weird and like stumbling on what to say, and Justin's like, I got this, you know, like it's just his star quality comes through. Shows in that video, and then the other video, like so many parts before, where he was meeting Hailey for the first time. He like has the camera follow him, and he's like going around this whole building. I think it was like for the Today Show or something, and like all these adults are looking at him like he's the authority, and he's like, come on, we're gonna go over here, we're gonna do this today. And it's like, oh my god, the kid was just like the perfect victim. So much enthusiasm. It's clear that he like really always wanted to prove himself and to be something special. It just makes me sad, not because I feel like something even very awful had to happen to him, but just like kids shouldn't be famous. Kids should not be famous. It ruins their life. It ruins their brain. It makes them insane, and then we pretend to be confused when they are. Let's talk about Hailey's Twitter. Cannot believe I'm saying this, but part 101. Hailey's Twitter no longer exists because it was literally a gold mine. She couldn't have cleaned it and deleted out the things that maybe would make her look bad now, because literally every tweet she just like subtweeted a lot, and it was funny. And the dynamic between her and like Bieber stans was that it was very parasocial because she followed us. So she would talk to us in the DMs like daily and literally like tweet something about like Kylie or about a boy or something, and was very, very moody. And it's funny because I actually thought, we're going to talk about the astrology, but I thought for some reason for so long that Hailey was a Libra. I don't know why. I think I just in my head was like, yeah, that's a Libra, because she seems so neutral, so like go with the flow, and so like, yeah, I like her about everything. And then I saw somewhere that she was a Scorpio, and I was like, what? But I know now that she's a Sagittarius. I'm pretty sure she's like a 0-degree Sagittarius. So she's a sidereal Scorpio, but still. Despite that perspective that we have of her now, I guess, this perception that like she's incredibly neutral, because I think that's just the safest bet for her, she would tweet like very moody, subtweety things that got deleted like within the hour, because people would be like, is this about so-and-so? And she would answer. Mind you though, she was like probably 17 years old, because I think I'm a year or a little bit younger than her, so I was probably like 14 when I stopped being on Bieber Twitter, so she was probably 16. Very young. Everybody changes from that age. Off of just my memory, I remember her always retweeting this bot that would tweet every single day, I want to be a businesswoman. And it's funny thinking back to her doing that, because upon some of the like photos that I found, like one with her with Harry Styles, I had no idea that she was like maybe dating Cody Banks. I was like, oh my god, I wonder if this was in the plan the whole time and Justin just like ended up being the one. Because from a very young age, it obviously like we've come to the consensus that it seems like her parents, just like any other, you know, wealthy family has their foot in Hollywood, it's kind of like do something, pick a hobby, modeling, whatever. And then we got to get you in the crowd of the right people, whether that be your friendships or the people that you date. Like when these people are still kids, their parents are the ones driving them to like these events or these places where they need to get photographed with so-and-so. And to be clear, I'm not saying that Hailey's a bad person for this, but it just seems to be the formula that those sort of kids follow. And she was friends with Kylie, she was friends with Kendall, so was Madison Beer, who was also like ushered into this weird Bieber world through Scooter as well. So I was like, okay, let me see if any of this is like orchestrated, not even having to do with Justin. Like, let me see the first time Hailey Baldwin's name was in the press. So I did an advanced search on Hailey Baldwin and went all the way back to like 2008. But the first thing that I found, the earliest, was from 2011, and it was when she said like Justin and Selena are a dream together, right? We have the screenshots in an earlier part. This is when she would fangirl over Selena and Justin. Like, she was a fan first and a girlfriend second. Part 102. Do you guys love that I have this like little setup going? So this is from 2012, and we already start to see Hailey like popping up at events because she's allegedly, I think, dating Cody Simpson. I literally know for a fact that in the last video I said Cody Banks. I was like, where did I get that name? This is Cody Banks. Is that Hailey? Oh my god, wait, that's literally Justin, Hailey, and Selena. I'm dead. But yeah, she's seen with Cody a lot. 2012, baby, they're turning up. Hell yeah. And this is where things get kind of funny. I feel like there had to have been either the purchasing of a bot, or if she had any sort of management at the time, like trying to get her name out there. This is a picture of just Hailey's dad. Like, Hailey is not in this photo. And it says, hey, it's Hailey Baldwin. She is friends with Cody Simpson and Austin Mahoney, whatever. But within the parentheses, it's not Hailey, it's Hailey Baldwin, by the way, his dad. At this point, with what we've seen of her father, I'm like, is he trying to just help his daughter out, or is he clout chasing and using his daughter as a reason to be at these weird child events? Teenage events, whatever. She's in a magazine about these beach photos that are taken with Austin. I feel like that's kind of a big deal, no? At that age, to be in a magazine? It was probably like J14 or something. These were the beach photos. She's often photographed at the beach at this time, and the headline is always, Stephen Baldwin's 16-year-old daughter at the beach, which is weird. Or bikini photos of 16-year-old Hailey Baldwin. More Cody. And then once Stan started to follow her, this is when people would be like, what is up with her? Because she was such a moody tweeter. I don't have much proof to show because she obviously deleted her Twitter, but this is when Twitter functioned through quote retweets, which essentially forced you to have to, instead of retweeting, write a tweet where you entered your comment and in front of that would be the tweet that you were quoting. And so because she acted like a fan, stans would be like, oh, do you like Justin with this girl? Because she seemed like a fan. And then she would like either joke around or get upset and then subtweet fans. Or really anybody for that matter. And again, we saw a lot of those screenshots where she was like talking about Selena, like, don't be petty and make a dance video, or grow up, be mature, whatever they were saying. Which seemed, or it was implied to be about Selena and Justin's drama as she got closer to Justin. But this is from 2012, and I think Justin was talking to a girl named Hailey or something. I think it was a fan turned like someone that went to an event or something. So people would like ship them with Justin, and this girl goes, are you going to join the Hailey movement too? And she goes, totes. 11:38 p.m. And then literally right away she tweets, I need to delete my Twitter. I just can't handle how immature people are sometimes. Grow up, seriously. Things like this. Whoa, I hope I never look that desperate. That was the format for how you had to do it at the time. And then as we see her interacting with Justin more, and then posting things that seemingly were about Selena, people started to catch on and be like, who is this girl? What's the relation? And as she got closer to his group of friends, she switched up. She started acting different. Part 103, I'm literally just waiting for the car to get warm. Look at me doing my little talk show for you guys. It looks so cute. A lot of you have been telling me to do a podcast. I actually used to have one, but I do want to bring it back this spring, hopefully sooner rather than later. While this is heating up though, I'm going to answer some questions you guys asked me. The first one's going to kill the vibe. You guys wanted to know where the cross necklace was from. It's from Shein. Alright, I'm sorry. This one is from my grandma. Anytime I compliment something she's wearing, she just gives it to me. But knowing her, it's probably from JTV, which is literally a jewelry TV station that you have to watch and buy it off the screen. Everyone wants to know the lip combo. I wear something different every single day. I have so many lip products. I'm just a lippy girl. I actually used to have a lip gloss brand, so you can trust my recommendations, but the one that I wore the last time I filmed and then today is actually NYX Nude Truffle. I don't have nails on today. I normally do like a brown or just darker nude lip liner, and then it's followed by the gloss, which is the Sephora brand, glossed in shade 40, Sleek. And then I can't answer the question about my hair yet, not because I use anything top secret, but because I'm trying to get a contract with them right now. I gotta get my bag, I'm sorry. And then lastly, the glasses, they're just linked, they're from Amazon, they're in my storefront. I don't need them yet though, I need it when I use the light. Okay, I believe we left off with Hailey's Twitter. So Hailey's making it into the misfit crowd, which was like Kylie Jenner and her friends. Her and the Jenners could have gone back further, but this is at least when we start seeing them together hanging out. I have an obvious feeling that it was because like that's when Kylie started to get big on Instagram, and it looks like there's a strong attempt to just get Hailey's name in press, literally regardless of how unimportant it is. When I said I thought that Harry Styles was included in that group of people that they were trying to get her to be seen with, this is what I was referring to. This is really the only photo I found, at least doing the Twitter search. I just feel like, you know, it was posted a million times by like bot accounts, and it looks like they know each other well. You know, it doesn't look like something where they're just like next to each other. So we have a roster of photos with Cody Banks and then Austin Mahoney, still don't know, sorry, Harry Styles, all within the same year. And then we start seeing her again like pushed more into Kylie's friend group. Kylie just always seemed to be the center of these people. We have Madison Beer, who again was someone who also like entered the Bieber cloud due to Scooter, I believe, which also seems to be the case kind of with Hailey. More bestie photos. And then this is where I'm like, okay, somebody hired a fucking bot. There's no way. There's pages and pages of scrolling for this, and they're all approximately a half hour apart. So Hailey's still involved in the Bieberverse. And we have to remember that at this time, Madison Beer is very close with Justin. People thought that Madison and Justin were dating because they were that close. Hailey wishes Madison a happy birthday. She posts a collage of them looking like besties. And then this iconic unplanned paparazzi shoot occurs, and Hailey is now in the in crowd. Part 104. I forgot to include this screenshot. You guys have to fill me in. I don't know anything about Harry Styles, but I know that you guys were commenting that he dated Kendall Jenner at one point. If it was in 2013, there was this like weird paparazzi thing where I feel like the Kardashians and Hailey essentially wanted someone to release something that said or indicated that they were like staying with Harry Styles because one of them was dating him. I don't know, I'm definitely screwing it up, but it was saying something about like one of them needing to leave out a back door, that way it looked like secretive. And what ended up being the truth was that they were all just staying at the same hotel, based off of some new things that I've seen of girls that were also like believers. sharing their DMs with Hailey. Again, she used to literally ask where his hotel was, where he was gonna be after his show, like we all did. And paparazzi at the time, shout out Caesar from 24/7 Paps, he used to give us the tea. Literally, I love him. I don't love paparazzi, but he was so nice and respectful. I love him so much. But it was very, like, easy, attainable information to get, unfortunately. And I think they just knew where Harry was staying and then, like, booked a room there, maybe hoping to run into him. And that essentially led to something that was like, oh my god, they're staying there because one of them's dating him. And Hailey had a big mouth and would, like, literally tweet very openly about who she was with, where she was, and had to delete it. And I think in deleting that, it also made it seem more secretive. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So we're at the iconic photo shoot. I think they're like 16 at the time, but it's just so funny that this was supposed to be like, oh my god, they had no idea there was cameras on them. They're just enjoying a matcha at Earth Cafe. I'm on the East Coast, and I remember whenever I saw the Kylie Jenner crew at Earth, I was like, oh my god, I need to go there. But yeah, Hailey Baldwin is debuted as Kylie's new BFF on March 19th, 2014. And the next day, she is signed to LA Models. Their names are together everywhere. Again, has to be a bot. Then something fishy and weird happens between March and September, where this is a bot posting about Hailey Baldwin being with Scooter. She's with Justin, but Scooter is there, and somebody is behind these damn tweets. Again, they are all a half hour apart. Like, there's not even a link to an article. It's literally copy and pasted. A month later, it's November. They go to church together. Kendall is there. A month later, it's December. They seem like they're together. Justin's posting her. This is when the on again, off again starts. The photo is posted on December 15th. A few days later, December 19th, we have more of mixing Hailey's name into the mix with Justin, creating the love triangle, all a half hour apart, insinuating that Justin and Hailey are together. On that same day, Justin comments on Hailey's photo, saying, "Give me my sweatpants back, dick." And this is when Kendall takes Selena Gomez to Dubai to set her ass up. People need to start hiring me. Some clarifiers quickly. Some people are very confused why I said Selena Gomez can't read. The jokes are for the girlies who have been riding with me since part 1. If I'm making a bunch of comments that don't make sense to you, it's because it was mentioned in the other part. On the video of Gwen Stefani's demo version of The Heart Wants What It Wants, somebody said Selena didn't write it because she can't read. So when I had to read the subtitles for the other video, I was like, she can't read, but I can. That was the joke, sorry. Secondly, same idea. People saying, you forgot about Shawn Mendes, she dated Shawn Mendes. Girl, you have to head back to part 30 because we talked about that. So on this shady Dubai trip, we can see that Raquel is there. So naturally, we need to talk about Raquel a little bit. Her parents are a part of Hillsong. I really can't find much on them, but this is an article. I don't think that they're pastors. I think they just like work alongside the church. It's pastoral care, whatever the fuck that means. But what I find interesting about their very tight-knit association with Hillsong is that for some reason it's not a very well-known public fact that Raquel and Hailey are very close friends. There's a bunch of content of them hanging out together, and I do find that incredibly conflicting for obvious reasons, because she's obviously Selena's quote-unquote best friend, which is fine. You can have friends where, you know, the girlies are fighting, but you love both of them. But I do find it incredibly conflicting that even up until present day, because if we're going based off of what the people closest to Selena have said post-engagement and marriage, which I want to be clear, I don't think this is appropriate. Selena's mom to be like interacting with fans like this. If that was me, I'd be like, Mom. But she's indicating that, you know, she's like, what could be the main reason why Justin Bieber and Selena broke up? They just got back together in 2017 and broke up back to Hailey. What could be the reason? Like, based off of what the people that are very close to Selena say about Hailey, which again, I'm not co-signing this, and nobody should ever speak like this about anybody, especially on the internet. But it does make me wonder if a lot of things went a lot deeper behind closed doors. This is literally Julia Michaels. But then a year later, she commented on this and was like, love it. We know that Selena seems to be really close friends with Nicola Peltz, or Beckham now. She also dated Justin in that same few years, and once her and her husband started getting really close to Selena, they unfollowed Hailey as well, despite the fact that Nicola was always following her, liking her photos, Hailey's. Like, it just seems like there is a relentless back and forth, and that when anybody gets close to either Hailey or Selena, they immediately, I'm like, can I be a fly on the wall and hear the conversations that happen that lead to somebody hanging out with Hailey and then unfollowing Selena, or somebody hanging out with Selena then unfollowing Hailey? It just seems so messy. So messy. So, due to what seems like the need to make a decision, it's interesting to me that Raquel is seemingly Selena's best friend, literally is on her show with her handler, supposedly, allegedly, and is friends with Hailey. Part 106, I had to take a break. I really don't have a lot of time today, so I'm sorry. I'm like leaving you guys hanging again. I promise I will be back. And I know that you guys want my final verdict on who you think I'm siding with. I saw a few comments of people that were confused, like, I don't get it. Are you shading Selena? Are you shading Hailey? I'm shading all of them because the whole thing is fucking shady. But I do have my opinions, and I'm gonna share them with you guys at the end. However, I see a lot of like old footage of Hailey coming out, and people are like, where are you guys getting this? Where are you guys suddenly finding this? Why have we never seen this before until now? And as much as everybody thinks that this is an organic fight between the girlies, I find it very hard to believe that two people who are so heavily monitored by their teams and kept under, you know, insane wraps of control in order to maintain their brand image, that this is just an accident, or this is just like, you know, an online scuffle between the two girls. Justin and Selena ended, and Hailey and Justin got engaged in 2018. This would not be surfacing for no reason now. I also legitimately would not be surprised if, not that both teams were like cohesively working together, but everybody does benefit in terms of traction when we see things like this, and I just wouldn't be shook if it was the battle of the PR. Because Hailey runs with the Kardashians, we know this. The Kardashians have a very long track record, and have basically built an entire empire off of manufactured controversy, you know, like outrage content. Because by being relevant and having your name in articles, bad press is still press. Being the villain is way better than being a fucking nobody. I think that all of this is being leaked by people on Hailey's team. And I know people are going to be like, but it's bad. Why would they release things that make her look bad? Because it gets people talking about her. You can only talk about pearly nails for so many months in a row. In Kris Jenner's autobiography, she basically makes herself look awful, unorganized, and a non-trustworthy woman. In doing that, she not only becomes more human, but is able to say, I've made mistakes. And in the same way that we see this awful sex tape of Kim Kardashian leak, turned the world against her, only to be given the opportunity to turn the world in her favor. People love a redemption arc far more than they love the woman who has never made a mistake. And I think that Selena's going to be releasing something or doing something soon, because upon all this happening, she was already on like the Wizards of Waverly Place podcast, I think. She posted a new YouTube video, and I did some research because I was like, no, something big is coming. This would not all be happening for no reason. The amount of press and coverage it's getting is absolutely absurd. You guys know I'm kind of a conspiracy girl, and I know that celebrities are for entertainment and are often weaponized to distract us from larger things, so that's one thing. But I can also tell you that just a few days after Selena started commenting on all of this, she filed a new LLC under her own name. I really wanted to wait until tomorrow, but I just realized that tomorrow's Justin's birthday. I will be damned if I miss a celebrity pregnancy that I've already predicted. My day ones know that I guessed both of Rihanna's pregnancies. I've been trying to clock Kourtney Kardashian for a while now, except I do think it's going to be this spring in preparation for the next Kardashian season. All the astrology girlies know that March is literally everybody, let alone people that are having the transits hit so personally in their charts, like Hailey. I don't know why I'm just on a winning streak this month, but I literally predicted the Super Bowl. I was like, let me just look at some people's charts and make some guesses. Jenner was one of them. I was just guessing that she was going to have some intense press around her relationships. And a few days later, we see her with Bad Bunny. Ignore the headphones. I took a look at Hailey's chart. I said Justin Bieber loves an Aries moon. Hailey, Selena, and Kendall have an Aries moon. Kourtney's an Aries sun. He loves a very, aggressive woman. But first of all, Hailey's going to have kind of a hard year. First, I tweeted this on January 7th of this year because that's when she first made the TikTok that's like,
I'm not saying she deserved it, but I'm saying God's timing is always right.
That immediately got the girlies in a tussle. And then she had her Nepo baby moment that just was a flop because she was like in a parking garage and then changed her shirt when she got out of it. In January, I was saying that this sort of approach isn't going to work for her because she's having a tough transit. Saturn will be square her sun. It is right now, and it's hard. Take it from someone who's born with it. But our girl Hailey is a 29-degree Aries moon opposite her 29-degree Libra Venus. I'm not going to elaborate on the astrology jargon. If you understand it, go ahead and read it, but that's where I typically lose people. Just know that there's a lot of things that point to her being pregnant. They're already or within the spring, like within the next 2 months. However, if she is pregnant, I feel like it could currently be happening, and that's when there would be an announcement. There's really a lot of pregnancy things. However, I do feel like there's one tough aspect that can kind of indicate problems within pregnancy, possibly health issues or some sort of complication. Justin's literally about to have his Saturn return. Both of them have Saturn natally in their 5th house, which is typically complications around children and romance. Too much information to explain in one video. It's not the worst thing in the world, and it doesn't mean that you'll never get married or have kids. It just might be a little bit later. There might be some karmic lessons around it. It can look like a lot of challenges with it, and the Saturn return is typically going to emphasize that, for better or for worse. And Justin is having his now. Hailey is having hers in about 3 years. I genuinely feel like she's either pregnant or being primed for divorce. There's an emphasis on tough conversations and announcements. Same with Justin, square his ascendant. 420, that's the big eclipse day that I'm looking at. Tell me why it literally looks like Selena could be pregnant too. I'm not saying they are, but I'm like desperately trying to keep up in between readings and I'm literally falling asleep. So Justin's a Scorpio rising. I'm a Scorpio rising. I love Scorpio risings. But as much as I love them, we've been having a shitty year. All of 2022 was a dumpster fire, and thankfully with Saturn moving into Pisces, it's going to get a lot easier. He's been having the South Node fucking up his 1st house since literally January of 2022. Like immediately starting with his ascendant. South Node essentially asks you to let go of and find balance between the houses that it's in. In his case, it was his 1st house of self and his 7th house of marriage. This can bring a lot of issues to the forefront, needing to kind of rid yourself of the worst parts of yourself. Alongside that, he's had Saturn transiting his 4th house of home, family, and private life since actually March of 2020, like when COVID started, when all of those very awful lives of them were happening. And Saturn in like the late fall had to cross over his natal Mercury and his natal Mars in the 4th house. Saturn having to cross over your natal Mars is 2 malefics basically like intensifying one another. It's like pressing on the gas and the brakes at the same time. It's a very challenging transit, let alone having it in 2 of your angular houses of self and home. And naturally now it is squaring his ascendant. He's always going to have Saturn in the 5th house. Like Saturn isn't the worst planet in the world. It can actually bring you a lot of success. Things like responsibility, maturity, hard work paying off. That can look like a pregnancy. It can look like the challenges and trials and tribulations of needing to step up to plate in order to get the rewards from it. Pluto is actually sextile his ascendant, which I like to see. The North Node is trine his natal Chiron, which is quite sensitive and triggering. He's having like a lot of transformative healing things happening. Hailey's a Sagittarius rising, so everything's going to shift by 1 house. She's also having Pluto sextile her sun. Sextiles are usually going to be very good aspects. Pluto itself is very volatile and intense, so sometimes it can feel like, oh my god, why is this happening to me? But it ends up being something really good. What's more challenging is Saturn square her sun and her Pluto. I feel like she's having issues with her dad or with like the foundation of maybe the limitations that she was raised with. Probably like desperately wanting to break away, especially right now, from the identity that people are attaching to her. Wanting to destroy that, and she's going to have Saturn going through her 4th house now for the next 3 years that Justin just got out of, and that can bring family problems. Mars has been fucking up her 7th house since last August, with square her 10th house Mars, which makes sense from all the combative energy from the public. July to September is going to be huge for her in terms of old relationship stuff from the past. North Node is going to be conjunct her midheaven and square her sun. Whatever Hailey and Justin are going through looks private. This summer looks big for Selena.
I saw my girl, Young Kales, post a disclaimer on her incredibly...
I love Baddie Nation 420 on my walk, but now you guys know that I'm not that gorgeous. It was literally just the light. Also, guys, the evil eye ring that you really want was gifted to me. I'm sorry, I do think it's from Etsy. However, I tried to look for it. Tell me why the only thing in my likes was this 5-pound peanut butter cup. What could they have possibly done that it has 1 star? But I'm not alone because 13 other people looked for it. I will link other cute evil eye rings with the peanut butter cup for anybody who wants it. But what Baddie Nash was saying was that a celebrity shading somebody on social media essentially does the same amount of good PR as what a very planned and executed press conference used to do. And I don't think it's insane at all to assume that all of this was orchestrated for whatever reason, especially now that we see that Hailey and Selena recently opened new business entities. Is that to say that I think Hailey's team, who is literally just Scooter Braun, he has a reputation for failing his clients. His clients being Justin, Demi, Ariana. No, but I don't think at the same time that Scooter Braun would do much damage control for the fact that someone he manages is literally crashing and burning. Which leads me to think, who is Hailey close with? The Kardashians, who was under fire recently, Kylie Jenner. Also a lot of talk about Travis Scott supposedly getting another girl pregnant. If it was Roe, I literally called it. So Travis Scott supposedly literally punched somebody in the face at the club the other day. And the content that we're seeing of Hailey with Kendall in some of them is so intimate, literally looks like it's right off of Kendall's phone. So I'm maybe this is the Jenner clan throwing their bestie under the bus in an attempt to save face for Kylie. Maybe a lot of people are Hailey would never make herself look bad on purpose. Guys, that's the Kardashians' entire empire. I just don't think Hailey is similarly built for it, let alone her astrology being awful. Not a good year to play the villain. Also, if you get off the internet and go outside, you will realize that anybody can come back from anything. Her uncle literally fucking shot an employee and he's good. So dark, so I'm putting this as the background to illuminate my face. But also, people are Selena would never engage with this stuff on purpose. She has bad mental health. Guys, I'm really gonna need you to wake up and snap out of it. If literally anybody around Selena Gomez cared about her mental health, she would not be a celebrity who has a relentlessly awful past with an ex and is a bipolar woman with lupus front and center stage for the world to throw tomatoes at. Whenever mental health is mentioned from a PR team or a celebrity, it's more often than not throwing a bone to the poor folk. I need you guys to understand that rich people, they're okay. They're really okay. Speaking of Hailey's astrology, if that is her accurate birth time, she does look like she's going to get pregnant. If it's an inaccurate birth time, then we can conclude still from Justin's chart that it does look like divorce, possibly from cheating. A lot of you guys have been asking for my personal opinion based off of all of the information that I've laid out in front of us. The structure that I've been trying to follow this entire time is that we can speculate all that we want, but it's the cold, hard facts that are most important. A lot of you have mentioned Justin marrying Hailey for a visa, them supposedly having a marriage contract, him and Selena miscarrying and wanting to leave the industry, all of which have yet to be proven. Therefore, I will take it into consideration, but it doesn't actually give us answers. What we do know is that this is a story about 2 child stars, a nepo baby, PR, addiction, mental health issues, religious manipulation, and a whole lot of money on the line. So just know that my perspective of this is not looking at Hailey, Selena, and Justin as individuals, but rather how they are all caricatures that personify all of these themes and how they're all a victim under the umbrella that is patriarchy. I think my general consensus is that children that are born from wealth and fame have to prioritize status and avoiding humiliating the family name. Whereas Justin and Selena, coming from rougher circumstances with a single mom, have to prioritize faith and working hard and becoming the providers for their family. Nepotism children are typically entitled to the entire world without having to really lift a finger, and child stars kind of have to shoulder the responsibility of literally saving their family. So Hailey grows up in this weird spot of growing up in the city, being the extended family of celebrity and fame, watching her father scramble in a desperate attempt to resolve himself of bankruptcy. And during all of this, we see people like Justin Bieber, Cody Simpson, Austin Mahoney rising to fame overnight. Obviously, Hailey was a fan, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. We were all teenage girls at this point. But I think somewhere between growing up adjacent to Hollywood but not fully being in that world caused a deep need, a desperation to be famous. And she probably concluded that that could be through the vessel of dating a pop star. By being a fan and then being able to be honestly, I want that one. Her father had the connection, so it worked. I think that the problematic overlap was that to be in the in crowd, you kind of had to be a part of Hillsong, and if you were anywhere even close to Kar Jenner, you were essentially going to get roped into the church at some point. I think between Hailey kind of having the leverage to pick her player and Jelena having this like downward spiral of mental health and substance abuse, there was like a perfect moment of marrying the mentally ill heartthrob, and with just enough religious convincing, I think that it just happened to work in her favor. I have a pinned TikTok about how we often see wealthy people kind of cosplay struggle or hardship, or even just rob the identities of people with meaningful stories in an attempt to maybe make their brands or businesses have more value than they actually do. And I think that's just because there's a silent understanding that being born into elitism is very boring. And I think that Hailey recognized that the only way to curate an interesting identity for herself was to copy and paste the persona of the person that her dream man was in love with. And if she wanted it, she deserved it, because it looks like that's kind of how everything else in her life worked. Okay, here is my final verdict. At the end of the day, it's never going to make me happy to see two women pinned against each other. It might be in theory in the way that we watch like Real Housewives fights. At the end of the day, it's sad because more often than not, it's because of a man. It stops being funny when the comments are flooded with horrific, misogynistic comments from women about women, knowing damn well we try to fight that against men every single day and try to stop this stigma around the one who gets the ring is the one who won, the ex-girlfriend is the real true love, the concept of even trapping a man with a baby. The reason that the phenomenon of this love triangle was so intriguing to me to begin with, the reason why I started this series 5 months ago before all this happened, is because I'm interested in the human behavior, the media studies, the women's relational dynamics of it all. These three people personify and reflect so much to us about love, fame, religion, publicity, PR, and how all of that trickles down to us real people. If you followed me when I did the Kylie Rowe and Travis Scott series, I had the same concept of kind of like compiling all the information I knew, telling the story, and then using it to remind us how funny it is that celebrities are just like us. They embarrass themselves, they have the same insecurities as us, they struggle with the same problems as all of us, and we can use this to derive the lessons from the entertainment world and apply that to our real lives. I have the same intention with this series, and a lot of you guys are tagging me in videos of Hailey seemingly copying Selena, asking me why I'm not acknowledging all the old footage, why I'm not just saying whose side I'm on. It's simply just because that was never the part that I cared about. Beyond these three people are humans that live in the same societal structure as us. I understand it's hard not to have a very strong opinion on this relationship when the dynamic so closely resembles a lot of the awful experiences we go through as women in our relationships. You know, despite whether you see yourself as more as Selena the ex or Hailey the wife. But at the end of the day, this tells us more about heterosexual relationships, public perception, religious manipulation, class inequality, female friendships, and the absolutely outdated construct that is marriage. I know that if you were to put both of these women in front of me, I would probably like both of them. And they would probably like each other because guess what? They have a lot in common. So whether this was all organic, it's not. Or whether this was all calculated, it is. Everybody has told on themselves once again and dragged both women for the same reasons, and you guys fall for it every time. We beg men not to do that to us, and then anytime there's an opportunity to humiliate another woman, we jump on it. Is there one woman in this story who plays a little bit more of an interesting role? Of course, but the damage has already been done. I'm gonna need to make another part for what else I have to say. The reality of the situation is that one woman endured a traumatic relationship in the public eye and it brought her to the darkest point of her life, and the other woman's marriage will literally never be taken seriously at the hand of being humiliated to hell and back. No one won because both women lost. If Justin was still with Selena, he would be treating her the same way as Hailey because guess what? He already did. Both women have dated this man, and it's very highly concerning that people think that the values and the ethics of a man vary depending on the reflected worth of the person that he's currently dating. Like, both of these women have been cheated on, hurt by, and embarrassed by the same boyfriend, the same man. And to collectively decide whether all wives are the winners or all ex-girlfriends are the real true love is literally just perpetuating a losing game of a playing field for women everywhere, yourself included. It's so funny that vanilla wife, you know, you may be married to her, but I know you're thinking about me. A trend is trending because it's so reflective of this. What I don't know is what will make people happy. Whether that's Hailey staying with him, not staying with him, addressing it, not addressing it. I think sometimes things just get messy because clearly they all have some very deep lessons to learn within this love triangle. I think they are all victims and perpetuators in their own way and their own stories. What I do know is that I love Rare Beauty, I love Justin Bieber, and I'm sure I could love whatever Hailey comes up with as long as it's authentic and she makes an identity for herself apart from her husband. I want to love Hailey, and I don't think people necessarily hate her. I think nobody knows what to work with because there isn't really any substance there other than her being married. I don't think anything is wrong with hypergamy or dating up or marrying your teenage heartthrob. I just think she's literally in the most privileged, best position, access to everything, could hire any PR marketing team in the world, and I just want to see her stand up. But that's selfish because at the end of the day, I think all she wanted was to marry Justin Bieber, and the girl got what she wanted. I can't hate her for that. I'm sure at some point in your life you've been treated badly by an ex and then seen them give the next girl everything that you asked for. Now tell me, after everything that you've been through, knowing who this person really is, do you really think they really changed, and would you go back to them? That's what I thought, so let's stop romanticizing it. This is a lesson on decentering men and the harsh consequences you pay when you make them the end goal. You can spend your entire life pretending to be something that you're not, but eventually the curtain will fall. And with that being said, people are only going to respect your relationship as much as your man does. So if you're getting the door slammed in your face or being told you never know what you're talking about, or having to tell yourself that marriage is supposed to be hard, there's a good chance that man doesn't like you, and once everybody else can see that you put up with that, good luck. Is it weird that Hailey has an extensive track record of seemingly copying everything that her husband's ex-girlfriend does? Yes. Some of it is a reach, some of it is uncanny. Is it weird that Selena Gomez is a 30-year-old woman who is infantilized into being this holier-than-thou victim that can never do anything wrong? Also, yes. I don't think it's fair to hold anybody's teenage years against them. Of course, unless they're literally committing a hate crime or something like that. But I know personally, if I had a bunch of footage of me at 15 years old, 16 years old leaked, I would be canceled, I would be crucified, I would probably be arrested. And I've tried my hardest to be, very careful with my word choice throughout this storytelling. Of course, I poke fun at everybody. That's what makes it a funny story to tell. But at the end of the day, these people are literally gonna be fine. Hailey got what she wanted. She is famous. She's married to her dream man. Justin wanted to be married. We don't know if he wants that anymore. He's an adult. Nobody needs to save him from a marriage that he's signed to. He will be able to figure it out if he wants to leave. And Selena has said multiple times that she is happy. And if she's so happy and you guys love her so much, it would be weird to hope that her ex-boyfriend, who she's made very clear traumatized her, would try to be with her again. Of course, in my sick fucking brain, I'm oh my god, imagine if they got back together. But let's be real, this entire love triangle is just a very big cash cow. I could do another 100 parts of this series, but at the end of the day, we don't know these people. And just because somebody reminds you of this girl that you don't like, or somebody reminds you of your ex-boyfriend, doesn't, get you any closer to knowing them. And I really think they're all fine because I think their businesses are booming from all of this, and I do think it's intentional. I went over my theory, but God forbid this pushed one of them over the edge. Everybody would be oh my god, mental health is so important. So just take this as a reminder that PR, the power of it, can literally turn a actual fucking villain into the saint of a story, and it can warp the actual victim of a situation into the, fucking monster. Celebrities' jobs are to be likable, whether that's through being the villain or the angel, but who you think you like or don't like based off of their business entity is not comparable to who they are as a human. And my best advice is to stop putting these expectations on people and expecting them to be perfect. Not in the sense that I'm be nicer to celebrities, but rather you shouldn't be expecting anything out of them to begin with because they are not shit just like us. I've been saying in my astrology findings for over a year now that I do think the concept of celebrity is going to be very cringy soon, and that the most celebrities and influencers will be those who are authentic and not running these weird PR things. So with that being said, my ideal outcome would be Justin to ditch this shit, retire, stop being famous, move back to Canada, play hockey again, get a normal girlfriend like Caitlyn Beatles. Hailey and Selena hash it out behind the scenes. They start a podcast together. They start a women's mental health organization. And all three of them start a new chapter apart from the common denominator that they share. Selena, write a tell-all. Okay, life lessons that we can learn from the dumpster fire that is Jelena and Jaylee. That way we can do better in our own lives. This is my favorite part of the series that I do, but this is where you guys are going to stop liking me because some of them... Number 1, men complicate everything. They cannot be your life, they cannot be your world, they cannot be your end goal. They need to only be the cherry on top, otherwise your world is going to crumble beneath you. Which leads me to number 2, female friendships that are based on loyalty and trust are far more impactful than the person that you end up deciding to settle down with once you're ready. That way you're not pushed into settling for an unhappy marriage or relationship because you don't have anybody else, and you have enough love and support and encouragement to leave if need be. There's an incredible book called Between Women that I'm going to link in my storefront. It talks about all these dynamics. Number 3, if a girl is being weird to you, let them be weird in peace, okay? Chances are it's to provoke you or to get a reaction out of you anyways, so just mind your business. People will catch on eventually and you'll be happy that you stayed silent. Nobody will ever be able to truly do it like you anyway, so don't worry about it. Number 4, addiction is not something that people intentionally, actively choose. Too many grown adults in my comment section were leaving comments along the lines of like, oh, addicts deserve what's coming to them, saying how disgusting somebody looks once they're using, how if you start, falling into substance abuse, you basically become worthless. I can't believe I have to clarify this, but addiction is a disease that attacks the mind, the body, the soul. You don't have to understand it, but you have to have a lot of hate in your heart to not be able to sympathize with that. Everybody in this world is at risk of addiction, and no amount of money, fame, or attention can save you from that. Number 5, I'm gonna lose a lot of you guys here. A lot of you guys are your man's handler. Hear me out. I'm not making fun of you, but in the same way that a lot of women are making fun of Hailey for seemingly putting up with a lot of disrespect and being like, she just wants to be married, she just wants to be in a relationship. I just want everyone saying that to take a good hard look in the mirror and make sure they're not doing the same thing. Which leads me to number 6, which is that everybody who wants Selena to do a lot better, they think she deserves better. I want you to start feeling that way about yourselves, please. So number 7, the overwhelming concern that people have for Selena 6 years out of her coming age relationship could be much more productively put towards the people and the women in your lives who desperately do need your support within their relationships, no matter how annoyed you are, how bored you are with hearing them say the same things over and over again. Those are people in your real life who could really use your support. I'm going to link another book called Why Does He Do That? And it has these steps that I can share with you guys if you're interested on how to handle a friend who you truly care about, who you know is in a bad relationship, the right way. Lastly, when it doesn't make sense, it's the dollars. If you're lost, follow the paper trail. Contracts are a much stronger relationship than any kiss, photo, or song is. And everything is not what it seems. A lot of you want to tip me. I can't accept tips from a Justin Bieber series. But if you guys are interested in these thoughts, I do have a Patreon that you can subscribe to or tip on. And I would love to see some more girlies over there. So I am interested in him, in her. And I'm not trying to be funny, I'm very interested in Corey Gamble. You guys know I'm a full-time astrologer, and I've been preaching for like over a year now that when Saturn goes into Pisces, which starts in literally 4 days and it's going to last 3 years, it will show us just how catastrophic and dangerous it is to see somebody as an idol, an icon, a second coming of Jesus, a prophet. I've said this before and I'll say it again, we are going to see the rise of false prophets, like people genuinely gaining such a big following off of their beliefs, the way they talk, the way they speak, their suave, being a leader, being an authority. We've already kind of seen that on social media. We have people, creators on this app, literally sending people into spiritual psychosis. And as somebody who's fairly educated on cults and manipulation tactics, and the rise of the alt-right pipeline that a lot of you don't realize you're quickly sliding down, and it's going to lead you right to conservatism and Christianity. This man, Chad Veach, is who I'm keeping an eye on, and we know him. We've already talked about him in the series. He's a part of Hillsong. Let me show you what video we know him from.
Hey guys, welcome back. We're here at Hillsong Conference 2017.
Off-white. These are off-white.
It was your...
Shout out, Virgil.
Shout out, Virgil. Virgil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Well said.
Yeah. Shout out, Virgil. This is our main
shouting out Virgil.
Can I get a shout out?
That's Lorenzo.
So, samesies.
Samesies. Carl, I want to I want to get close like that wisp. It's Justin. No, I want to get better. That's why
I just want to love people more. I just want to love Carl more.
You're doing a good job with that.
So, man.
Justin, this is your second time at Hillsong Conference?
Yes.
It's not God, baby, it's drugs. But I could see this dude being the next big cult leader, the next big false prophet, the next big, vessel through which we communicate with Jesus with. Carl Lenz is the other man on that couch, and we saw the downfall of what happens when you give that type of person too much of an ego boost. Everybody will pay for it, especially the people that, have the most faith in them. I feel like Carl Lenz is going to make his comeback too at some point. I just feel like he has more to say. He has such a salesman voice. I know he's not. Those ego problems, done yet. Saturn and Pisces. We're talking about Hailey and Selena again today. Before you blow a gasket, let me explain to you why. Something's going on with the way I look. Why? Do I look weird? The reason that we're talking about them is because a few months ago when I did my 400-part series on Justin, Hailey, Selena, Hillsong, I made a few predictions that were supposed to be culminating around now. I had a video go viral of me basically saying I felt like Hailey and Justin were either going to get divorced or have a child, which two very different extreme outcomes, right? Both of those outcomes show up very differently in an astrological chart, so the issue was not me looking at Hailey's chart being like, is she gonna get pregnant or divorce? Like, these transits kind of look like both. It was more so that Justin's chart kind of indicated what looked like liberating himself more from a relationship or there being some shock factor within marriage, whereas Hailey's chart kind of indicated more so pregnancy, but also simultaneously maybe having some family or home problems. Other liability to this prediction is that we don't have a Hailey's, exact birth time. We're kind of guesstimating here, which is obviously going to affect the reliability of things turning out exactly like we would see in a chart if that's not even her chart. I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible because there's such a complex timeline to all of this. I was already talking about Selena's astrology back in November when her documentary came out because I was like, this girl is coming back into the spotlight. I want to say spring of last year, March of 2022. I had my eye on Selena first because I hadn't even seen her name in a headline in a while, and I was like, what is she up to? And I was saying she might be working on things that are outside of her typical. Let me just find the screenshot.
Can I talk my shit again?
It was recorded in August of last year, and then I'll put a little screenshot up here to show what the videos of me talking about her in November of last year looked like. Really came up on my radar in January when she had her Nepo baby shirt moment because obviously there was an uproar about it and her chart wasn't looking too promising. I noticed that she had a lot of Saturn stuff going on. Saturn was square her sun, not an easy transit to have. It literally makes you public enemy number one. Take it from somebody who has it natally. Hailey has Chiron in the 11th house natally, which can sometimes make you most hated, make you just by default somebody that really struggles to be liked by the public, struggles to fit in, just having a target on your back. Saturn was supporting that, thankfully, so it's kind of there was some people on her side. Saturn going through the 4th house isn't easy in terms of private life, home, family, things that are going on behind closed doors, even mental health, who you are at the core. And it's also square her sun and her Pluto in the 1st house, which is self-identity, who she is, who she looks like. Pluto was giving conflict to her Venus, which is love, relationships, in the public eye. Also conjunct her 3rd house Uranus. 3rd house is communication, speaking, talking, writing, what you post online. Uranus is shocking, unexpected things, flukes of nature, kind of a crashing and burning moment in terms of communication and the internet, social media in general. And then she's also having a Saturn ruled perfection year of her 3rd house, which is really needing to watch what you say, how you say it, who you say it to. Celebrities, I would say it's press, media coverage, what is being said about you as well. I do this entire series from literally Christmas or Thanksgiving. I feel like I was literally filming during the holidays, far into March, because then we started talking about Hillsong, we started talking about churches, started talking about Saturn and Pisces. But when I made my pregnancy prediction, which was on Justin's birthday, March 1st of this year, which looks like this, if you want to watch it on my page, that was when I really started looking into okay, wait, are they pregnant or are they getting divorced? A really big date that stuck out to me upon first glance at looking into the transits of this year was the 420 solar eclipse, because it was at 29 degrees of Aries, which is literally the same degree as Hailey's moon, and moon indicates pregnancies, emotions, home, living situation, etc. It was also direct her 29-degree Libra Venus, and having an eclipse on your personal placements to begin with is always going to be big and pivotal and personal to you, but to have it on her natal moon opposite Venus opposition, and to have the eclipse on that, a new moon solar eclipse, usually going to be something in pregnancy because her moon's in her 5th house. Like, okay, windows of conception can look like these dates here. So now that we're getting closer to, like, as far as I looked into the future, around July 17th, around Selena's birthday, looks very big, because July, this month in general, July 2023, for everybody is like shaking the fucking table. I can say that much. I was saying that I felt like it was going to be like a dramatic shaking the table sort of summer for them. There was no indication of pregnancy for Hailey on, I almost said the 4th of July, on the 420 eclipse, but it is when, like, she posted this story, and Selena posted for her as well. So this was the day of the eclipse that was right on Hailey's Moon-Venus opposition. To be fair, it's also on the axis of, like, fame, attention, entertainment, social media, so maybe it was digging more at her emotional inner world and not necessarily pregnancy. Venus in the 5th house too just have to do with romance, and obviously we know this whole feud was like over her damn husband. So guys, I'm having such serious like period brain fog, and I can feel myself being boring the way I'm trying to explain this stuff to you guys. So I hope that caught you up to speed. If you don't understand astrology too much, it was probably hard to like keep up with that, but basically the point that I'm trying to draw here is that over the last few months, we started with Selena already kind of being in the public eye again because of her documentary that reopened the wound of Hailey and Selena, right? And then we see this TikTok that Hailey makes that everybody assumes is about Selena. That gets the whole hate train on Hailey. From then, as I was also simultaneously, just good timing, making an entire series on Hailey, Selena, and Justin, the history of, you know, the love triangle, that's when I started looking into the pregnancy. To me, I feel like it's undeniable for Hailey this year to not get pregnant. So the reason I'm mentioning it now is because we have some really intense transits happening in July that are like electrocuting these 3 people so personally and specifically that to me it looks like it's overlapping with each other. The reason eclipses are important when we're talking about these predictions here is because eclipses kind of shake the table depending on where the nodes are and how they're aspecting people's charts. And usually when we talk about eclipses, because I'm going to bring up the one that happened on May 5th, you might be like, Kayla, but that already happened. Like, obviously nothing happened around that time. Why are you bringing it up? Because usually the results of an eclipse unfold after or within 6 months post the date of that eclipse happening. So I'm referring to right now the Cinco de Mayo, May 5th Scorpio lunar eclipse, and these were the predictions that I had for it. First of all, this was like the 20th time I mentioned Kourtney Kardashian's pregnancy and finally got it right. For Selena, that eclipse was square her 1st house Mercury, which is communication, news, press about her, things that we would maybe see come out about her, or announcements that come out of her own mouth, and Chiron, which is the wounded healer, and her 7th house Saturn, which is essentially like relationship struggles, karma, things that are very heavy in regards to her relationships. And I want to note too that this can absolutely overlap with the fact that people think that the Idol show by The Weeknd is literally about Selena. I'm going to bring that up in a second, but I was basically saying that there might be an uncomfortable or triggering spotlight in regards to her relationships, new and old, because Justin and Hailey, I think, are pregnant. I've been saying it since January, and I do think that maybe that 420 eclipse was the culprit. We are literally going to be hearing about Selena Gomez all summer. Like, I'm calling it now, because she's a Leo rising and has a Leo stellium, so many planets there, and the 1st house is really about self, who you are, what you look like, and we're having a Venus retrograde, Venus being relationships, beauty, things where she's going to be in the public eye, going retrograde and hitting all of those 1st house placements in Leo. Like, I think there's going to be a really big spotlight on her, but it might be uncomfortable and not in the best way. Again, I think that this could be something though that, you know, this doesn't only have to be about Justin. It could be about The Weeknd. It could be about like relationships we didn't even know about. I think there's like going to be this karmic callback to her past that might get resurfaced or confronted, or even some drama with like new people she might or might not be dating. here is the tea that I really am like, ay. On the 22nd is a very big day. Astrologically, I should make a video just separately talking about that because it's a bomb of a day to begin with. The nodes, which essentially determine fate and like huge trajectory changes, are going to be switching into Libra and Aries. They're moving out of Scorpio and Taurus, which they've been there since like January of 2022. This is very big for Selena because Selena is a 29-degree Cancer sun. The sun is going to be crossing over her actual sun. She's going to be having her solar return because it's her birthday, but it's in a direct opposition to Pluto, and it has been for a while. This is not an easy transit to have. This kaboom of a transit is happening right on her sun and her midheaven, her reputation and who she is. Pluto can reveal secrets too. It could be something that really shakes the table. Justin's going to be having like 3 Saturn returns because of Saturn retrograde, and Venus is retrograding through his public image, career, you know, how everybody can see him sector. Hailey is having this right on her Uranus and her moon and her Venus. So what I think is going to happen, didn't plan this, I'm sorry, go to part 2. I personally think that it's undeniable that Hailey, Selena, and Justin will not have like a boiling point moment around the 22nd of July. Go watch my last video for some more context, but let's look at the astrology a little bit more. It just looks like a bomb. So with Selena up to plate first, we know she's a Leo rising and she has a bunch of Leo placements. So essentially what's happening is Venus already went through her first house this past month. Usually Venus through the first house brings like good attention, a glow up, physically looking better, looking more beautiful, being more attractive, maybe having money or relationships be a little bit more relevant to you. It's usually going to be like good press, basically. A retrograde doesn't have to ruin that, but it can kind of unpack or revisit or retry or kind of rebalance some karma within the steps that it's already made. So it's like going back for more to pick something up that you dropped in a way that can be quite frustrating or almost make you have the opposite sort of effect. The reason this is particularly interesting in terms of her relationships is that Venus is going to oppose Saturn in her 7th house, which is karmic relationships. It is having struggles within the people that you're very close to. It can bring back the past. It can kind of ignite what is maybe karmic ties to other people. I mentioned in the last video that I do think this could absolutely be indicative of more so her involvement with The Weeknd, with people assuming that The Idol is about Selena Gomez, which I really would not doubt because The Weeknd is a Scorpio moon and Scorpio moons do shit like that. July 22nd, really big day, point blank period, and particularly for Selena, it's going to be, the North Node is going to be directly conjunct her midheaven, which is essentially her reputation, how the public eye views her, and the nodes and Pluto are also going to be in a conflicting aspect to her 29-degree Cancer sun, which that day she'll be having her solar return because the sun is going to be entering into Leo season, into her first house. So there's a lot of discomfort between her identity, how she's showing up in the public eye, and I would even say things regarding her private life and the past and things that maybe need to be deaded, basically. And the North Node enters Aries, which is going to be happening in like 2 weeks from now. It won't immediately conjoin her moon, but once it does, that's usually a pregnancy transit that I've seen before, and she's already had Jupiter cross over her moon, which usually is another pregnancy transit. So to have that have crossed over it, and then the nodes, obviously it makes a girl wonder, okay? Now with Zestian Bebior, so he's a Scorpio rising. He's been having the South Node go through his first house, as have I, and it is not an easy transit to have. You're having basically the nodes kind of beat you down to the ground and show you every single bad thing about yourself that you need to let go of, you cannot take with you in order to have personal progression. I'm grateful for it. It wasn't fun. Enjoy it, Libra risings, because you're next. But with Justin in particular, the things that we were looking at in his chart that we were like, is there literally a divorce on the way or something, is that he is having Uranus in a positive aspect sextile to his natal 5th house Venus. So this isn't inherently a bad aspect. Sextiles aren't too strong. However, Uranus likes to liberate itself. It likes to be a little bit risky and impulsive and kind of like shake the table even if there's consequences with it. So with Venus being relationships and the 5th house being romance and also / children, it can look like going through a 7th house of relationships and marriage. A divorce, is that the first thing I would say? No, it could also just look like shocking news, like getting pregnant, like having a child. Right now, Uranus is directly sextile to his Venus, though, so that's why this is time sensitive. Like, the clock is ticking in a way that's making me be like, why do I literally feel like there's going to be an announcement or something this month, and that's going to be the thing to, like, draw this whole picture together? What's ironic is that when the North Node conjoins Selena's moon, the South Node is going to be conjoining Justin's moon. So with Selena, it's like faded, beautiful, like illuminating changes with her emotional world, maybe family, maybe home, maybe living situation, maybe pregnancy. With Justin, he's going to have to karmically letting go of his ideas around women, home, family, moving out of those things in a way that has maybe allowed him to be toxic with those themes. Miss Hailey is the main event because I've been saying I feel like she's pregnant. Like, I know we don't have proof. I know that she doesn't look pregnant. That doesn't make me not believe it. Like, I've clocked pregnancy so many times and I just feel like it's undeniable. And if it's not that, it's like huge emotional at home behind closed doors things that we're not seeing. But that 420 eclipse, new moon, solar eclipse, new beginnings, new chapters, was directly conjunct her Aries 29-degree moon. It was to the degree of her moon, opposite to the degree of her Venus, which is love and relationships, in the 11th house of like the public eye, press, fame, things like that. This cardinal grand cross, which is the bomb of the day that I'm referring to, that prevails past these three people and sends ripples like into the collective in general, like July 22nd, keep an eye on it. But the Pluto Sun opposition is going to be directly conjunct her third house Uranus. Third house with celebrities, I would say, is sometimes like press, gossip, blogs, things like that. It's also speaking, talking, writing, social media, things that like can come out of her own mouth. But the nodal opposition, again, is going to be relighting and reigniting something that began at the 420 eclipse. To me, that was pregnancy. And to have that reignited in a way that's a lot more impactful and has some shock factor to it with Uranus in the third house of like communication and information, I'm like, are we going to be getting the news that day? Is there going to be an announcement? Is there going to be like a news break or something around it? And again, with the node shifting into Aries and Libra, the North Node is going to be on Hailey's moon, which is literally pregnancy most of the time, especially in her fifth house, which is children and romance. But ironically, the South Node is going to be crossing over her Venus. So she has to let go of karmic things around relationships and love and beauty and femininity and things like that. So there's a funny little dance that's going on where the things that Selena is supposed to be prioritizing and leaning into is like almost on this pivotal axis of the things that Justin and Hailey need to let go of in order to grow. Is that to say that it like has to affect one another? No. Like, obviously everybody in the world is going to be dealing with these transits at the same time, but I do think it's like so crazy how much these three people like overlap astrologically. This was like built into the stars for them to deal with what is essentially just like a love triangle karmic soul tie. And I do not use words like that. I never use terms like that. I don't like them. I think they're unhealthy. But if there's anyone in the world who I feel like falls into that, it's these people. Venus retrograde is going to be in Hailey's 9th house up until like September, October. So there's going to be maybe some backtracking, some revisiting from the past, or some like even like mistakes in terms of the way that she's mentioned in the press, like journalism, interviews, things like that. I do think it's interesting that again the scab was reopened with this interview she did like very recently.
I don't think that this is about me, Hailey Bieber, and Selena Gomez. This is not about this pitting between two women and division between two women. It's about the vile, disgusting hatred that can come from completely made up and twisted and perpetuated narratives.
Usually interviews are going to be done for PR purposes in the sense of like somebody launching something, somebody promoting something, or just needing to like shift the narrative of what's going on around that talent or celebrity. That's the reason for the interview. So I do find it interesting that Hailey has a history of like interviews where she's not necessarily promoting something but is rather clearing her name. And it does make me wonder if there's this emphasis on people are very mean to me, this is not okay, me and Selena are good, in an attempt to soothe what is maybe the preparation of something really big, like a pregnancy getting announced. Since having the Venus retrograde in his 10th house of career, public image, accomplishments, how people view him in the public eye as well. So maybe some backtracking, again, the past coming back up, maybe making some mistakes here and there in terms of how he's being recognized in the public eye and with his job. Happy birthday to Selena Gomez, because all this drama is literally happening on her birthday, and the retrograde is going to be through her first house of self and identity. So I think whatever this big bomb is, everyone's going to immediately adjust their attention to Selena. Best advice is for her to sit silently. I have a very loose prediction that Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco are going to get engaged around Valentine's Day. If you are new here, I'm a celebrity astrologer and tarot reader, and I'm right a lot of the time. However, let me say this. A little bit over a year ago, I made an over 100-part series about Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, Hailey Bieber, Hillsong, Diddy. I was early on him as well, but besides the point, I made a lot of predictions about the three of them during that time, most of which did not materialize. So the one thing I will say as a disclaimer moving forward isn't that, oh, I'm wrong, oh, astrology isn't real, but that those predictions are heavily reliant on, one, the accuracy of their birth charts being correct, and two, the fact that astrology doesn't make things happen, it reflects what's already happening. And a lot of the time with celebrities, especially when they're this big of celebrities, there are very big things happening that we just don't get to see, and sometimes we hear about them later down the road, months, years later, and sometimes we don't hear about them at all. With that being said, Selena Gomez has a C reliability for her birth chart, but that's the birth chart that I'm making these predictions off of. The first thing worth noting about Selena Gomez's interest in Benny Blanco is the fact that he's a Pisces, so he falls in Selena's assumed 8th house. That means that her synastry is pretty similar to someone that she used to date. This is him if you are unfamiliar. Okay, moving forward. That's not to say that they legitimately have the same synastry, because they don't. However, I do think there's a little bit of a Madonna whore complex going on between the two of them. I do think that Selena plays into that wifey sort of complex slightly. And I do think that Benny might be playing into it. However, we don't know these people, so I'm not going to make assumptions, but Selena Gomez likes herself a Pisces. So here are just some past tweets that I made about Selena earlier in 2023, but after all of the drama of her probably being in the spotlight again for like old relationships as well as new relationships and rumors around pregnancy or dating. I said that we would be hearing about her all summer, assuming that she does have a first house Leo stellium, because we had that Venus retrograde in Leo, and that it was going to be around dating rumors, relationships, a relationship spotlight that's going to materialize in the fall. And then we know that she obviously like went to war over this man in her Instagram comments. My favorite one being somebody commenting the iconic "if you can't handle hate, then stop hosting your girlfriend," and her straight up not getting the joke. In August, we have some tweets about a new moon in Leo that was in her first house, having to do with her relationships and optimistically starting something new. That's particularly important because we're having a full moon in Leo on January 25th, so this is the closing of the door to something that began 6 months ago. But then that will segue us into a new moon in Aquarius in her 7th house of relationships right around Valentine's Day. She had some nodal stuff going on earlier this year with her moon, so this is kind of making me feel a little bit more confident in now seeing things materialize with engagement or a pregnancy announcement, if none of this has happened already, because we also had a new moon in her 5th house. Granted, having a new or a full moon in these areas of your chart, if they're even correct, doesn't always have to mean pregnancy, engagement, like these major things. But Girly Pop has been having a lot of intense things going on in her chart for quite some time now. One of them being that Pluto has been opposing her sun on and off and will continue to do that into 2024 and 2025. That's a huge identity change. It's on the axis of her relationship sector. Into February too, we're going to have Venus join the party, so Mars, Venus, all of that is going to oppose her sun and conjoin Pluto. The new moon is going to directly square her natal Pluto in her 4th house as well, so that has a lot to do with like her inner self, her private life, her home, really who she is most privately at the core. Venus will square the nodes as well, and then Venus is going to square Jupiter on the 25th of February, and that's naturally going to square her natal ascendant and descendant line. Again, a lot to do with relationships. Listen, February is very big for her. Any monumental change we want to navigate in the birth chart can be confirmed through secondary progressions, like that's where the realty is, and she's having a Venus-Jupiter conjunction that's incredible for love. The sun is entering new territory, which only happens like every 30 years, so that's going to start an entire new era for her. She does have her progressed Mercury conjunct her natal Chiron, So that's a little interesting to me because Chiron does have a lot to do with like wounds and sensitivity and healing. So hopefully that's for the better chance of healing than more pain. All in all, I will say it's a mixed bag between what we can expect with her. I'm really trying to feel out the accuracy of her chart still in regards to the predictions that I'm making. But Girly Pop is going through changes point blank period. With Pluto opposite her sun, it's squaring her assumed midheaven. Like the girl is entering a new era regardless. I guess we will have to see, but hopefully she's getting some good things come her way, please. And if you want a personalized reading for yourself, you can do so in my bio or at my website, kmoney.biz.
And they are saying that Hailey Bieber has followed a TikTok account that constantly posts nasty stuff about Selena Gomez.
Go follow Michelle. That was her video. I couldn't stitch her because I wanted to add some screenshots in here. Ever since the series that I did about Justin, Selena, and Hailey last year, I constantly get asked to do updated predictions about them. I literally couldn't care less about what these people do, but when I get accurate predictions, it gets me clients. Let's keep it a buck. The one thing I will say to keep it short and sweet is that I do think that Hailey and Selena are going to be thrown in the ring again for round 2 this year. They're going to be having some similar transits that are much longer term that they had last spring when all of this was initially going down. And these are much more longer running stories, so it's less to be one particular day or event and rather to see the unfolding over time. In regards for my predictions for each of them individually this year, there's so many complexities to it that it's not just limited to their complicated, non-existent love triangle. I think we're going to see a lot of momentum building in Selena's career again, particularly in the fall. We'll say like around April, May. Justin's going to be having a lot of changes happening in his relationships. Their dynamic, Hailey and Justin's marriage, is going to be interesting to keep an eye on. If I made, any predictions last year that would hit this year, I would say would be the divorce. However, I don't think that has to be the black and white truth of it all. Hailey as well. I'm actually interested to see how she comes about this year. I think she's going to change. I think we're going to see a riskier, friskier side to her. I think that there's going to be a sense of liberation or rebranding to her that's maybe a little bit unexpected and edgier. We will have to see. We'll take it step by step and watch it unfold. Again, I am going off of their assumed charts though, so we don't know if these are like 100% accurate, and I don't need anybody coming for me. We will see. Hailey, baby, we need to have a chat. Unless you're getting drafted for the NFL next season, I'm assuming that you like my Super Bowl predictions because of the astrology of it all. And in that case, I am ready when you are, okay? I would love to read for you. In fact, I've already been forecasting for you. You have some crazy stuff coming up, by the way. All I ask is that you just don't scroll too far on my page, okay? And we can get something together. Don't hesitate to reach out, message me, and maybe send me some road skin to fix what I got going on. Why would I lie about that? All right, everybody, buckle up. The real Hailey Bieber. The real Hailey Bieber. And Tuffy speaking the truth. As always.
Justin Bieber was signed by Usher. Usher was signed to Diddy.
That series is just the gift that keeps on giving. I'm such a genius. I'm light years ahead. I tried to tell you guys about Diddy very early on, and we will get into him probably in another video. First and foremost, happy birthday, Justin Bieber, and I'm sorry in advance for what you will experience this month. That is what I tweeted last night, and it had the girlies in a tizzy, so let me explain. Stick around because we're going to talk about like the eerie Hollywood stuff towards the end of this. So both Hailey and Justin have some very challenging transits this month, particularly with Saturn at the same damn time. I said if I were their astrologer, Hailey, you've been here before, come back, that I would tell them to just lay low and keep their mouths shut. For Justin, he's just having something challenging that he's just gonna have to push through. And with Hailey, I said that it might be negative press around her family, private life, dirty laundry being aired out, criticism. So anyone that understands astrology on a basic level knows that Saturn can oftentimes drag us to hell and back. And in Justin's case, it's his malefic out of sect, so it's going to be his hardest planet. He literally just had his Saturn return. He just got over that, and now Saturn is directly conjoining his sun to the degree this month. Hailey actually had Saturn, I think, square her sun this time last year when all of that stuff was happening with Selena. It's not an easy transit. Saturn really puts the pressure and like the most hated vibe on you, and it can just be something where it's like you need to you need to suck it up and you need to lay your head down until it passes over. That's not to scare anyone either. Like if I was doing a personal reading for somebody, I would just say it can really test you. You want to be a good girl. That's when you want to be a good girl or a good boy. Otherwise, if you act out or retaliate, like you will likely face consequences. Similarly with Hailey, she's going to be having a Saturn influence as well. It's equally going to be her most challenging planet. She has not had her Saturn return yet, but it's going through her 4th house of home and family. Equally not an easy transit. It's much longer. It's about 3 years, but right now in particular, it's in an exact square to her natal Mercury. Mercury is speaking, talking, writing, headlines, gossip. It's posts, it's what she says, it's what other people say about her, it's siblings as well. It's also directly opposite her natal Mars. Also not an easy transit. This is 2 malefics, so 2 really challenging planets in opposition to one another. They need balance. They are in like an argument where they are not seeing eye to eye. It's very much like pressing on the gas and the brakes at the same time. There's a lot of wanting to go, but being restricted, slapped on the wrist, like getting in trouble. It just limits you. It restricts you. Imagine being in a straitjacket and then somebody shoots you with adrenaline and your body is like having its reaction, but within the constraints of the straitjacket. Not comfortable at all. So combining the idea of, okay, tension or conflict within the family or the home front and some other friction with what is like speaking and words and headlines and press, I was like, yeah, there's probably something about her family coming out, maybe something about her private life that's a little like, and not even 24 hours later, we get this article about her sister being arrested at a bar. It basically just explains that she was trying to use an employee-only bathroom and she like retaliated and threw a tampon out, just like rude. On top of that, exasperating the themes around family, we need to address Hailey Baldwin's father. Okay, hold on. Let me backtrack. We talked about Hailey's dad in that whole series. We talked about him quite a lot, actually. I was airing out their dirty laundry. In Hailey's defense, one thing about me is I'm never going to blame somebody, especially like a child of somebody, for the actions of their parents or of their family really in general, especially if you're in the public eye. And in Hailey's case, like she's the star of the Baldwin family. She is like the royalty, if you will. And God forbid you get put in such a like, you know, privileged position in life. You have to make sure your family can handle that shit. Like you need to keep them whipped into tip-top shape to not embarrass you, humiliate you, blow it, ruin the opportunity. And we know that that family like typically has bad press around them. And I don't think that we should ever blame Hailey Baldwin Bieber or anyone who's in a similar position for that. So when everybody the other day was tagging me in this, Stephen Baldwin shares a cryptic message about praying for Hailey and Justin, asking the Christian crowd, when you think of them, please take a little moment to give them a little prayer for wisdom, protection, draw them close to the Lord. More importantly, there are special challenges that folks in high visibility positions face. I don't even think we can call this a cryptic message from Stephen Baldwin because this is how Stephen Baldwin talks and communicates. It's like in riddles and blank spaces and question marks. Like more often than not, am I a little confused or just like not adding things up correctly anytime he's spoken to the public. But people were like, oh my God, do you think it's because they're getting a divorce? Do you think like... Maybe. I don't know. I have done 1,000,001 predictions for them and people keep asking me, do you have an updated prediction? Do you have an updated prediction? It's hard because the predictions that I make can't even be chalked up to accuracy because we do not see anything about them and we will not see anything about them. They're too high caliber. It's like when you're predicting for like the royal family, you might get the headline things correct or like the publicized drama correct, but what they don't want you to know, you're just not gonna know. That's also why it bothers me so much when people are like, you said that they're having trouble. They're not. Are you in the house? Like, do you have access to the camera? But with that being said, my point, I take everything that Stephen Baldwin says with a grain of salt. I take it very lightly. To me, I was just like, I feel like he'd say that on a normal Tuesday. The fact that it made news is what's interesting to me because we know that, or we can assume that allegedly Hailey has like a nice favorable hand in the press that comes out about her. So it's not what he said, it's the fact that Stephen Baldwin even has a mic that's loud enough to like hit the stands that hard. That makes me be like, okay, why are we praying for them? And why do we know about this? And where is this going? So I was just like, let me creep him. Never thought to do that before. And I did not like what I saw. I don't like it. It doesn't sit right with me. I always forget when you stitch a video, you cannot green screen other videos. So let me paraphrase. In chronological order, starting from the least recent, he posted this, which was like not that long ago at all. This was posted on February 21st. It's nothing crazy. It's just that he has increasingly over the last few weeks, like really pushed the heavy, like religious, like spiritual warfare sort of vibe. And then we have this. The only thing you're missing from the video footage is that he's busting a move in every single video. And this one says, yo, Hollywood. Y'all around for too long. But hey, was coming back anyways. As we're to be caught up in the air, etc. Thought I'd give an unrighteous on a little heads up. Apocalyptic arm is on the way. Can you say hey-oh? Hey-oh. Oh my god. You can't blame Hailey. I'm serious. Like, she's probably like, dude, please. This one's my favorite as it's the most unsettling. God is awesome. I think it says, hey, Hollywood, remember, joke's on you. I think that the most cryptic part about this is the boomerang emoji. I thought that was a nice touch. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing an important caption, but it's literally just ha ha ha, he he he. He says he's the funniest person in the world in this. He's just laughing. Talking about the Matrix crumbling. Here's the big hurrah. He is in the zone. He's locked in to Justin singing. He is listening to Justin sing a song. I don't know what song it is. I'm assuming it's like a religious song, the way that he's like having a physical response to it. And then somebody said, happy birthday, Justin Bieber. His love, forever, faith, obedience, deliverance, delivered. Thank you. Yes, happy birthday, Justin Bieber, for glory of kingdom of Christ. Power, wisdom, knowledge, could tell all, but forbidden, kind of like David Blaine. In reverse, some understand, but only a few. Best is yet to come. Light pierces darkness, regardless of humanity, government, or Satan. Welcome to the Matrix. A lot of, like, you know, the rhetoric that we see of, like, specifically religious people talking about like the darkness, where they're like, enjoy the show, wake up, enjoy the show. And I'm not making fun of him and saying that he's like not onto something. I just think he has a way of communicating it that makes it seem like he's a kook and not be able to take it seriously. He's also talking about deception with trickery in this one. And then in this one, he talks about how he wants Hollywood to go back to old days, like fun, cheery films and not what it is right now. And that is all I have for you people right now. I want to be able to do more. Hopefully once I have more time and I'm done with the ratings, I'll be able to do a little series. I definitely want to talk about Diddy. Back when I did the series, specifically when I was talking about Diddy, you guys were like, please, 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 you need to save this content. It's gonna get taken down. And you guys were right, because a lot of the sound was removed, particularly from this video of me showing Diddy and Justin interacting, where he says some very sus things. If you want to look at my past predictions that I've had for both Justin and Hailey, they're nothing super complex, just little blurbs. Go on Twitter, follow me, Young Kales, same handle here, search their names, it'll come up. You guys, and happy birthday, Justin. I bleed purple.
And Corey Gamble is going to be part of the
I often feel like Courage the Cowardly Dog, seeing something, warning everybody, and then nobody takes me seriously until it is too late. February of last year, I started talking about Diddy and Justin Bieber. I really zoomed in on Corey Gamble. Everyone thought it was like being dramatic. August of 2023, talking about Kris Jenner and Corey Gamble's relationship. Corey's connections to the entertainment industry, particularly Diddy. This is when Kim Porter's phone was found. Why I think Kris Jenner is with Corey Gamble. We talk about Kamora Lee Simmons. We talk about OJ. November, I make countless predictions about Diddy. There's so many more than this. You can search it on my Twitter, Young Kills. Light years ahead, baby. Justin and Hailey Bieber are pregnant, and now my phone is blowing up because I knew that shit. Why did that need to happen? I get a text saying, hey, you know Hailey's pregnant, right? Didn't you say that? And then I was like, oh, here we fucking go. Gorge. Okay.
Work is work. Do something, I'll get the job
overstimulated.
done. I don't BS. Work is work. I'm there to work.
Do the nail emoji. I tweeted this and I said, this is me right now. Come on, laugh, it's funny. And she was like, you're gonna fucking die. She's like, you are about to pop the fuck off. So overwhelmed right now. My phone is literally overheating. Mama's phone is overheating as we speak. I'm not here to gossip, I'm here to work. Because I have a lot of work to do, you know. I'm working late. Good shit.
I know that you are getting absolutely blown up with orders. I know you're very, very overwhelmed.
Hello. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for checking in on me. Literally, thank you. Because I had to take 2 ashwagandha. Like, how do I milk this shit? That's crazy. What? Bieber's, I haven't looked at anyone's shit in a while. Come here. This is Nuggy. My beautiful Nug. Oh my gosh, I love you. The Venus retrograde stations retrograde on March 2nd. It stations direct on April 13th. And then there's gonna be a shadow period. Selena and Justin. Okay. Been saying, like, I low-key don't think they're ever really doing well, but
We'll never know.
I'm gonna get, we're never gonna know until we know, but so soon. It's so soon. Hold on. It's literally gonna be, oh, he had a shitty birthday last year, transit during his birthday, and he literally has it again on his goddamn birthday. Good luck. Let's go drink.
Let's just walk to your bar.
Can I put a dress on? Not a dress. And my last statement is Justin Bieber is having a shitty romantic and financial transit for his birthday. Happy birthday, Justin. We love you. That literally sucks.
Oh, they're gonna get a divorce?
Literally the whole fucking time they've been together, it's just bad transit after bad transit.
They're gonna get a divorce?
Yeah.
They are. She's gotta go. Bye, fans.
She's gotta go is crazy.